Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey son, you got a party, you got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Is this where you wanna be? Debt and childhood poverty. Won't somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy? Oh yeah.
Barefaced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Very, very good evening. Time of the month comes again. Well, it's not time of the month because they've reduced the number of council meetings they have. They used to have them every month, but they're reducing them to a bare minimum to avoid scrutiny. Essentially avoid scrutiny. My name is Raja Miah, and this is, for those of you who are new with me, this probably isn't the sort of meeting I believe you would want to put yourself through. I will do a highlights commentary of this later, but there are some people predominantly in Oldham who enjoy sitting in a space and watching the council meeting together and commenting with each other and perhaps asking me questions in the chat. And if you ask me questions in the chat, I try and respond live. It'll probably last about 2 hours, possibly 3 hours, all the way up to 9 o'clock. And my intention is to come back at 9 o'clock. So once this is finished, my intention is to come back and run another transmission on the cover-up of the rape gangs. So if you're joining me looking for a transmission specifically on the cover-up of the rape gangs, the latest one will be at 9 o'clock this evening. That's my plan. But before then, we will go through Oldham Council meeting, the full council meeting. It'll be the same in towns and cities across the country. Local democracy is really where we can fight, and we have been fighting for the last 6 years. We've completely undermined and destroyed the legitimacy of Arood Shah and those before her. So it's interesting. It is interesting. What normally happens is they try and fill it up with crap. They used to have public questions where you could ask questions yourselves. Go over, they've removed that, so they pick the questions, and increasingly the questions are planted questions from their friends and associates. They used to have questions of the leader, and they've rigged that, so that's pretty much gone. So you can't really ask the leader of the council any questions in the same way you used to, and that's the opposition councillors. And then they kill time with motions. So there's a motion from the youth council. The youth council in Oldham is also it's challenging and difficult for me to criticise young people because I spent my life working with them, but they're basically been brainwashed and manipulated. So sadly, that's what's going on with the youth council. And then the motions today. The first motion is to do with HMOs as houses of multiple occupancy. There's a lot of Pakistani businessmen moved into HMOs, making a fortune. Some of these Pakistani businessmen are also Oldham councillors, and it doesn't matter how disgraceful the HMOs are, the conditions are, no one seems to hold them up. It doesn't even matter from what I can make out if you're growing cannabis and selling it in the HMOs. So this facade continues. This is a corrupt council, so there's something to do with HMOs. In the first motion, the second motion is to do with SCND, and again, that's the Labour Party wants the government to do something. Those are the first two motions from the Labour Party. The Conservative motions are interesting. It's to do with changing the entire council format and making it into a committee-style structure, which would make it more democratic. It's something we've been arguing for 5 years. And the Lib Dems one is on WASPI women, and the Pakistani sectarians want you to pay for litter to be picked up from their areas. So that's what's going on. If you're here and you're joining me for this meeting, and some of you are, please do consider buying me a coffee. My lights are on, my cameras are on, it's costing me. So please do consider buying me a coffee, or better still, subscribing to Redwall and Arable. If it goes off at any point, I will try and bring it back on. The computer in front of me is doing weird things, so I think the meeting is about to go live. Well, it's actually 5 minutes beforehand, so I don't think it can go live just yet. So let me just say good evening to a few more people. Oh, you'll find, good evening. You'll find some of these HMOs in Oldham are in massive buildings. The Pakistani sectarians Oldham group effectively put a motion at the last council meeting wanting to make the old civic centre, the old council building, into a massive HMO. So that's what is taking place. You can call it treason if you want, and I don't think there are many that will disagree with you. Normally you would have the Oldham Chronicle here, but the Oldham Chronicle at the last meeting got kicked out by the borough solicitor and his mates, and I've seen the statement that's come out from the borough solicitor as to why he kicked out, why the Oldham Chronicle were removed. Remember, the Oldham Chronicle came out and spoke out against the corruption that infests this town, and the consequence of the Oldham Chronicle was that they were removed from the council meeting and prevented from reporting. This is the response from the interim borough solicitor. I'll read it out to you. The representative from the Oldham Chronicle has engaged in behaviour that does not reflect that of a bona fide member of the media. So apparently it is for the council to decide what a bona fide member of the media is, or the borough solicitor. That's bent backdoor Bogotoff. Earlier in the day of the full council meeting, the representative sent an email that was vexatious, defamatory and harassing towards officers at Oldham Council. It was another sort because it was harassing. They should have phoned the police, and it was defamatory. They have the right to sue him. A senior representative of the communication service took the decision that due to this behaviour and previous erratic and concerning behaviour, both in person and via email, the representative from the Chronicle will be required to sit in the public gallery so that his conduct could be managed. This was not related to NUJ credentials. When the senior council officer attempted to explain this to the representative from the Oldham Chronicle, he was subjected to unacceptable behaviour that was abusive and concerning. Of course, they make things up. This is the council that made up attacks against them, and they're liars. The behaviour was so extreme that the council officer believed that the Chronicle representative may have been under the influence of alcohol or other substances. If you go to the council meeting, you will see some of the councillors are the ones who are clearly under the influence of alcohol or other substances, which reinforced the original decision to require the representative to sit in the public gallery. Of course, that doesn't make sense. We believed he was drunk or high and might be causing, might be a risk, so we made him sit with the elderly people in the public gallery. Do you see what happens when you lie? It's just, this is what these people do. The council's community safety and legal team have reviewed the Oldham Chronicle representative's behaviour, and appropriate action has been taken to safeguard staff. What the Chronicle did was expose the cover-up of corruption involving the now chief executive, Shelley Kipling. Also questioned, as we have been doing, the criminal links of the council leader Arooj Shah, who hangs off the arm of a convicted heroin trafficker, who also happened to be the getaway driver of a cop killer. None of this I am making up. So that is what is taking place in Oldham. And the Chronicle newspaper, the local newspaper, 170 years, have now been blocked from reporting on these matters. We all know why. The cover-up and the corruption is off the scale in Oldham. This is a council out of control, and this, in my view, is the most corrupt council in the country. So, get ready for some entertainment. I mean, I've been watching these for about 4 years now, and just the level of incompetency, it's not a good picture of local government. They look clueless. The councillors read off scripts. Here we go, the starting. But before we start, please No one's bought me a coffee. No one's subscribed. I do this for all of you to take value from, and it's entirely up to you where we end up. So please, if you can, support me. I'm going to play it. I'll try not to talk, and I will type away and respond to questions.
Before we start the meeting, could I ask all present to please treat everyone in the chamber with respect? I call upon Reverend Canon Daniel Burton for a reflection.
Last month, I was reflecting on Ramadan and Easter, Ramadan and Lent, rather, months of self-denial for spiritual benefit. March ended with the celebration of Eid for Muslims, and this month includes many religious festivals, including Easter. The Christian Church is anxious that its followers do not rush to the joy of Easter Sunday without first giving time to reflect on the betrayal, punishment, and death of Jesus Christ. As a popular prayer says, Jesus went not up to joy, but first he suffered pain and entered not into glory before he was crucified. Balancing the sad news of Holy Week with the happy news of Easter can be quite a challenge, not least this year when a late Easter means that all of our local schools have already celebrated Easter. And I have shared Easter joy with over 2,000, maybe 3,000 young people at St Hilda's, Holy Cross, Brian Clark and Bluecoat, 4 local schools of which we can rightly be proud. Next week, Christians will be back on the way of the cross, the Via Dolorosa, finding meaning and purpose in the suffering of our Saviour. When we look at the state of our world, we may come to the conclusion that for many of our fellow men and women, betrayal, punishment and death are far more resonant than Easter joy. But having walked with Jesus on the way of the cross, Christians are not allowed to linger at the scene of crucifixion. We are compelled to move on to Easter Sunday and contemplate also the meaning of the empty grave. Whatever it means, it is probably not best summed up in bunny rabbits and chocolate. So what is the core of the Easter message? It is better summed up in the word hope. For Christians, Easter Sunday is the rebirth of hope. Hope that love is stronger than hate, good is stronger than evil, light is stronger than darkness, and life is stronger than death. Hope that our lives mean something. Here is a message that we can all grasp, whether or not we are Christians or indeed people of faith. This broken world definitely needs hope, from the shattered streets of Gaza to the bombed-out cities of Ukraine and many other places across the globe. Hope is in short supply. Yet without hope, life is not worth living, and human beings at our best have astonishing reserves of hope. We can be agents of hope in the communities we serve. When we solve a problem that was overwhelming a constituent, when we connect someone with the services that they need to thrive, when we resource programs that foster good community relations, and when we nurture partnerships that bridge the divides of gender, generation, race and religion, then in these and in many other subtle but significant ways, we nurture hope and we glimpse the unique vision of a town that is more than the sum of its parts. I wish you all a happy and hopeful Easter.
Thank you very much. May I remind elected members and members of the public that the meeting will be streamed live on the Council's website and also the Oldham Community Radio, and the recording will be available after the meeting. The Council has a commitment to conduct its full Council business in an environment that is welcoming, secure and safe for the elected members, employees, members of Youth Council and members of the public. It's important that meetings are conducted in a safe and fair manner. All persons present at meetings should be treated with courtesy and respect. This includes everyone present within the chamber. Behaviors, language, and actions that impact on safety, cause disruption, and adjournment to the course of the business at meetings are not acceptable. Members of the public are therefore asked to observe the public meeting protocol, copies of which are available on some seats as well as on the Council's website. Elected members are reminded to observe the members' code of conduct, and which provides details of expected principle of behaviors. Thank you. Item 1, apologies. I have received apologies for absence from Councillor Hurley, Mushtaq, Councillor Wilkinson. Any other apologies? Sorry,
Mayor.
Councillor Williamson, sorry, apologies. No.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Burns had a puncture, so she may arrive late, but if she doesn't arrive, please can I pass on her apologies?
Thank you. No other apologies. Item 2, minutes. Please note this, the agenda for the 2 nights meetings include the minutes from the council meetings as follows. 18th December reconvened on 20th January 2025. 12th February 2025 extraordinary meeting regarding CSE. 12th February 2025 extraordinary meeting regarding PFE. 6th March 2025 extraordinary meeting regarding the appointment of the Chief Executive and the designation of the Section 151 officer. 6 March 2025 budget meeting. Does any member wish to comment on any of the minutes that are presented? Okay. Can Councillor agree that minutes of these meetings be approved as correct records? Thank you. Item 3, declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from members in the respect of matters to be determined by the Council at the meeting? Can members declare any matters to the meeting? Councillor Gafoor?
Yeah, sorry, item 10, the HMO.
We already got that thing. Okay. Item 4, urgent business. I think you might be aware that this is my last full council meeting apart from a handover meeting AGM, so I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to each and every one of you for cooperating. We had some tough times, hard times, but I do value that you taken appropriate steps to listen to me, to enable me to do this job, and none of that ever is being personal, but I appreciate all the support I received from all across the chamber, so thank you for that. And please don't insist for me to stay for third year now. Not doing that. Where is Eddie? Okay. That was a joke, Eddie. Council is asked to note the motion 2 at item 11, WASPI women, will be moved by Councillor Marland and not the Councillor Bishop as previously notified. Council is asked to agree that we bring forward item 13 on agenda political balance and consider this as item 7 after the petition item. Can I ask the leader to move this, and I can ask Councillor Gafoor to second this?
Move, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, yeah, I'd like to second it, and could I say a few words, please, if that's okay?
I think you will have an opportunity later on under that item. All those in favor? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you very much. Item 5, communication relating to the business of the Council. Further, to recently received correspondence from Jess Phillips MP, Minister of Safeguarding and Violence Against Women and Girls, included in the supplementary agenda. I'm going to allow the Chief Executive to speak, updating members on issues relating to the CSE inquiry. After the Chief Executive has spoken, I will give opportunity to others.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council may have seen news headlines yesterday which suggested that the government was stepping away from the 5 inquiries into child sexual exploitation they announced earlier in the year. This follows a statement that the Safeguarding Minister, Jess Phillips, gave to the Commons yesterday, which suggested a change in focus for the funding agreed for these inquiries. I wanted to give a categorical assurance to Council that this announcement has no impact on Oldham's local independent inquiry. The process for appointing Tom Crowther KC as independent chair and of commissioning independent legal support to the inquiry continues. I understand the concern that this coverage around the government statement will have caused to our survivor community, which is why I wanted to update Council to provide this assurance. We have also provided this reassurance directly to our survivors. We remain in conversation with the Home Office about how they will support our local inquiry going forward, which will include funding from that £5 million fund. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to allow the leader, Councillor Shah, to address members, updating Council on places for everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to bring members' attention to correspondence we received yesterday afternoon that the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government responded to our letter requesting revocation of the places for everyone.
It won't surprise the Chamber that I'm grateful that they have seen sense and rejected this request. The government has seen through what I would say is reckless attempts made by the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives to put our green belt at risk. As far as the administration is concerned, we agree with the government that this is the right decision for Oldham. We've already seen chaos caused in nearby Stockport by the Liberal Democrats there, playing silly political games with an issue that's too important. Places for Everyone is a brownfield first plan. It protects 97.5% of our green belt. It has seen us take out hanging chadder in Royton and wood houses in Failsworth, and we will be able to deliver much needed homes for our residents, and it's our job now to make sure that we deliver that. Thank you.
Thank you. Regarding item 11, notice of opposition business, I'm proposing that the time for this item be allocated as follows. Oldham Group's motion 10 minutes, Liberal Democrat motion 10 minutes, Conservative motion 5 minutes, and Independent motion 5 minutes. Item 6, petitions.
Mr. Mayor.
There are no petitions for this meeting of the Council to consider. Yes, Councillor Woodburn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to go back to item 5, if you don't mind. I'd like to propose to suspend Procedure Rules Part 4A 2.1.3i relating to questions to the leader to allow me time to ask a question to the leader as the minority
I'm quite happy
opposition
for you to
leader,
propose it,
possible.
but let us get to that item first, please.
Well, this is items relating to council business, so I just
No,
thought I'd
I
raise
think
it
this
now.
is the item when you get to the leader's question.
Well, I can say it again then if you want me to.
Yeah, we'll get to that
Okay,
item and
thanks.
you can propose. Okay. I struggle with my memory. No, you derailed me again. I don't really struggle, sorry. I'm just trying to get that now. That's fine. There are no petitions for this meeting of the Council to consider. As agreed, we have brought forward item 13, review of political balance on committees. A call on Councillor Shah to move and Councillor Jabbar to second the report.
Move, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Does any member wish to speak?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Councillor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fellow councillors, I'm just going to speak for a few minutes. It gives me great pleasure to formally welcome Councillor Graham Sheldon into the Oldham Group. Councillor Sheldon brings with him a strong record of service, independence of thought, and a deep commitment to the people of Oldham. His decision to join us reflects a growing recognition that this borough is in urgent need of change. With his addition, I am proud to say that the Oldham Group is now joint main opposition on this council. Excuse me? It certainly is, yes, yes.
Sorry, please, no cross-talking, please.
Any problems with that?
No, Councillor Lewis.
When you were getting it, was that a
No,
problem?
Councillor Kapoor,
Quick,
please, can you
was
talk
it?
through me? Sorry,
Sorry,
please.
sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. I was rudely interrupted by the child there.
Councillor
Sorry,
Craig, please.
Um,
This is my
I
last
am proud-
meeting.
No problem. 100%. So, with this addition, I am proud to say that the Oldham Group is now the joint main opposition on this council. And with that comes great responsibility, a responsibility we fully accept, to hold this Labour administration to account. Because what we have seen over the past few years, and particularly since Labour returned to power, is nothing short of incompetence. Year after year, Oldham has deteriorated under their leadership. Services are stretched, streets are dirty, communities are disillusioned, and hope is in short supply. This is why tonight I am announcing that the Oldham Group will be bringing forward a vote of no confidence in this administration at the annual council in May. But now I speak directly, not to Labour, but to the 32 other councillors, opposition councillors in this chamber. This is your moment. The people who elected us did this with a clear message. They wanted change. They wanted to end Labour's grip on Oldham, and now it's up to us. At the meeting in May, you will have a clear choice. Stand with Labour or stand with the people. Join us in taking Oldham in a new direction, one that is ambitious, that roots out incompetence, and that genuinely delivers for our communities. But let me be clear, if you choose to stay away, to vote against a no-confidence motion, or even to abstain, then your residents will know exactly where you stand. And I believe, come the next election, they will deliver their own verdict. Even if it means that I will stand alone here and vote against this Labour administration, that's what I have been voted in to do. Let us unite, let us lead, let us give Oldham the future it deserves. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you, Councillor Kapoor. Okay, does Council agree the recommendation detailed in the report? Okay, item 7, Youth Council. I call upon Youth Council to present their motion to Council.
Hi everyone, thank you for listening to us today. My name is Neve Roberts and I'm a Youth Councillor for East District.
And I am Hassan Jabbar, a Youth Councillor for South District and the Vice Chair of the Oldham Youth Council. For over a decade, young people in Oldham have made it clear mental health is a critical issue we face every day. Since 2012, each year, mental health has come in the top 5 issues of Make Your Mark, a national consultation where young people tell us what is important to them. The Oldham Youth Council hasn't wavered in prioritising mental health. Over the last 10 years, we've secured access to Hooth.com, an online counselling service. We push for reviews and funding for early intervention services in schools and colleges. We partnered with Oldham Theatre Workshop to raise awareness through productions like Standard Day and A Boy in the Black Box. And we have run our own campaigns, SNAP and I Love Me, to tackle specific mental health challenges and boost self-esteem. But more needs to be done.
The need for support in this time has only grown, especially since the pandemic, with mental health cases rising by 12% since before COVID. According to Mind's Big Mental Health Report, 1 in 5 children and young people in England have mental health problems, but only a third of these were able to access treatment in 2023. Our research and consultation seems to show the situation may be much worse. The average waiting time in Oldham for an assessment is reported to be 16 to 18 weeks. However, the reality for some is much longer. Young people have told us they have waited up to 6 months for a consultation, with their peers having only waited 1 month. This would still give the average waiting time mentioned above, but perhaps doesn't give the full picture.
This is also not the end to the waiting. After the initial assessment, there's a further wait for treatment. However, when talking with young people, this wait could be up to a year, meaning the possible wait of 18 months before receiving the support they need. In this time, we would expect the support needs to increase, putting further stress on the services and their ability to reduce waiting times. To address this, we feel there needs to be more scrutiny over waiting times so that we can fully understand at what level young people are having to wait to receive treatment.
We recognise that spending on mental health services has increased. In 2022 and 23, just under £1 billion was spent on children and young people's mental health, with £12.8 billion on all mental health services overall. Looking at the research though, 50% of mental health illnesses in adults start showing symptoms by the age of 14, and 75% experience symptoms before they are 24. This suggests more investment into children and young people's mental health services could save money in the long run. At the last election, Labour's manifesto promised to improve mental health services for young people. We would urge them to act swiftly on these promises. Labour's manifesto pledged investment in frontline services, adding 8,500 mental health professionals and creating Young Futures hubs with open access support. We need to see these actions become reality.
On top of these promises, we would also like the government to look at the funding and resources given to the trusted adults outside of their family, that most young people have access to, their teachers and other school staff. When speaking to young people, they don't feel the support available in school is enough. Often mental health support is provided by the school nurse, but this could be someone who has other roles in school, such as a librarian. These people are often not available during break and lunch times, as they have other roles, and teachers are often loath to send during class times because they feel young people use it as an excuse to get out of class. Qualified counsellor support is offered in school, but to access this you need to have parents' permission. And what you talk about in session is putting a report and sent to parents. This can often put young people off getting the support they need. We know that schools and professionals, such as those that work for this council, have put immense efforts to get over 500 teachers in Oldham mental health first aid trained. While we do think this will help, there needs to be more support for these teachers on how to work with young people, not just recognise the signs of poor mental health. Better training for all teachers as part of their mental health training needs to happen.
Young people would also like to see specific staff in schools to support them, not necessarily teaching staff or medically trained staff, but people such as guidance counsellors, chaplains or youth workers with training to work with young people around a holistic approach to their support. Therefore, we propose that Council resolves to complete an overview and scrutiny of mental health services waiting times, including CAMS, and ask the Chief Executive to write to the Prime Minister and Secretary of State for Health to request an increase to children and young people's mental health services spending, without reduction in spending on adult mental health. To again ask the Government to ensure that adequate funding and resources are made available to schools and colleges to allow them to invest in the early intervention services and for an update on their manifesto commitments.
Thank you.
Can I say thank you very much to both of you and to Youth Council. I think that's one of very meaningful motion ever been brought to this council, and you're absolutely right. I think there should not be a stigma, but also confidentiality of young people should be respected, same as it's been respected for adults. So well done. Now, I have Councillor Harrison first, and then Councillor Bishop to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Neve and Assad. I rise to move this very important motion. How could I not? Hearing the stories of our young people and from personal experiences within my own family, it is only right that we as a council resolve to complete a scrutiny study of mental health services waiting times here in Oldham, and that we as a Labour administration push our own government to increase spending for our youth mental health services, push for early intervention services and for an update on our manifesto commitments. But it's more than that. As corporate parents, it would be a dereliction of duty for us not to want to push for the best for our young people. Suffering and living with mental health issues is debilitating. It affects relationships with others, your relationship with yourself, your ability to study and work, your ability to be able to function within society. It affects the way you think, feel and interact with the world. And so to read and hear that 50% of adults with mental health issues start showing symptoms at the age of 14 and 75% experience symptoms before they're 24 only highlights the need for preventative work, not reactive. It is right, therefore, that we ask for an increase in spending for youth mental health services while simultaneously not decreasing the spending of adult mental health services. As a bit of a request, a plea to all members. Charity members have financially, using their ward budget, supported mental health services for young people for a number of years now through a project called Off the Record. With us now being the West District, it has extended to Wearmouth, but for all we wish we could do, this is merely a lump of ice off a giant iceberg called mental health. Other members are urged to do something similar in their districts, and if you require support in doing this, please do reach out to us. Once again, thank you to the Youth Council, and in particular Assad and Neve, for bringing this important motion forward and for all the work you have done around this matter since 2013. Please support their motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would like to thank Neve and Assad and our brilliant Youth Council for presenting this really important motion, and I fully support its sentiment. I also hear and agree that our schools are still struggling to meet the mental health support needs of young people and often don't have the resources available to respond effectively, even when the will and the understanding is there. It's also essential that all teaching staff are trained in spotting the early symptoms of mental and emotional health issues and know how to respond appropriately. Young people now live in a completely different world to the one that most of us in this chamber were raised in. They face a constant deluge of information and influence, regardless of whether they want it or not. They live in a world where they are under constant scrutiny and pressure to behave or present in a certain way. There is no escape from the omnipresent negative messaging that they are subjected to, and few safeguards or protections with which to mitigate it. A situation worsened, in my opinion, in Oldham by the decommissioning of our neighbourhood youth clubs 10 years ago, leaving far fewer safe spaces left for them to work through their emotional and mental health struggles. And we need to do more to put this right. Although public consciousness and debate around mental health has increased, it's a national disgrace that the thresholds for CAMS are so high that many of those who were referred for support and intervention are initially declined for not meeting the criteria and therefore feel further rejected by a system that encourages them to come forward and ask for help, but then turns them away when they do so. This in turn triggers a more rapid decline in mental well-being, a sense of hopelessness and indeed a betrayal of trust. It takes an awful lot for a young person to put their faith in someone enough to share their mental health struggles. Wouldn't it be great if we could arrive at a place where they were responded to effectively at the first time of calling, rather than waiting for them to join the thousands presenting in A&E, having harmed or attempted to harm themselves in some way? The only way it appears currently to be able to fit the criteria. We need waiting times brought down to an absolute minimum, and we need to focus on responding appropriately to those who ask for help in a timely manner at the first point of asking. It is right that we ask the government to make good on their manifesto promises and deliver a future fit for all of our young people, and I hope they hear and respond to your request.
Thank you very much. Any other member wishes to speak? No? Okay. So, does Council agree the motion? Thank you very much. Thank you, Neve. Thank you, Saad. Well done. Public questions. So we have 15 minutes. In line with the Council procedure, Rule 10, Council will consider all questions submitted in order received. The time allowed for public question is a maximum of 15 minutes. Once this time limit expires, no further questions will be asked. There is no right of reply to answers given. I will advise the name of the questionnaire and will read out the questions and ask the relevant cabinet member and the deputy to respond. Responses will be limited to a maximum of 2 minutes. If the time limit has expired and questions remain outstanding, the responses will be published on the Council's website shortly after the meeting. The first question is from Christine Turner. There are exceptions to PD legislation that allow elected and unelected officials to support residents with negotiating telecom infrastructure, such as planning drop curbs, building driveways, and householders' deeds, which restrict overheads infrastructure. Are officials aware they can support their constituents in these circumstances? IXW's poor practices have recently endangered E&W engineers and the public by installing poles too close to electricity lines. Is Oldham Council willing to risk constituent safety by allowing these companies' reckless behavior? Can Cabinet member confirm any changes to the government's guidance for telecoms companies on best practices for installing new equipment? I call upon Councillor Taylor, Statutory Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Decent Homes to reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you to Christine Turner for her question. So the Council is aware of concerns raised about IX Wireless's infrastructure and how their contractors are installing it. Unfortunately, however, there are no exceptions to permitted development legislation that allows the Council as a local planning authority to intervene, as you suggest. In relation to highways permits, Council officers have liaised with IX Wireless recently on the installation of their infrastructure by contractors and for a time withdrew all permits to IX Wireless whilst they provided comfort to us that they and their contractors would improve their procedures for installations. They have now done so, and we are granting highways permits where appropriate to IX Wireless again. In terms of guidance from the government for telecoms companies on best practice for such installation of new equipment, ultimately we as a local planning and highways authority are governed by legislation and regulations, and none of the relevant planning and highways related legislation and regulations for communications infrastructure have recently changed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Mark Rogue. During Council debates, the use of jargon, particularly by portfolio leads, in my experience is prolific. While councillors may well understand the jargon, use the general public, including me, do not. Can the Council explore ways of limiting the jargon use? There are several cost-effective solutions to this issue. For example, a crib sheet for attendees or a jargon notes list on the YouTube channel. I call upon leader and cabinet member for building a better Oldham Council Charter to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Rolfe, for your question. And it does raise a really important point. I think elected members, as we know, are public representatives. Council officers are also public servants. And for both of us, the key word there is public. And we should always remember that the public should come first. We should therefore always try to speak in plain English, and I agree with that. It's a pet peeve of mine as well, jargon, and we should avoid it as much as we possibly can. Sometimes there is a reality, Mr. Mayor, that we have to use technical language, which I understand isn't helpful, but we should always make an effort to explain it as well. I know that the Local Government Association does have a glossary that is available, which does describe and explain some of that jargon, and that is available on their website, and I would recommend members of the public to use it. But more importantly, I am going to take this opportunity in response to this question to remind my cabinet colleagues and officers of the council that we should always strive to speak in a way that the public understands. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Question from Nicola Brown. In February 2024, Councillor Sykes wrote to the CEO and leader asking, as only 13 councillors had valid DBS checks, what actions they would take to ensure due diligence was carried out, and by when it would be expected for all to have one. 12 months on, can the leader confirm the numbers of councillors who have valid DBS checks? If below 60, are steps being taken to address this? And when can we expect all 60 councillors to have one? Should any councillor fail to DBS check, will this information be shared, and will they be removed from office? I call upon Councillor Jabbar, the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Value for Money and Sustainability, to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to Nicola for this really important question. So Council can't force members to complete a DBS check. So DBS stands for Disclosure Barring Service, just to make sure that we explain the jargon. We do actually encourage everyone to do it, and it also means that if a member doesn't complete a DBS check, then we can't remove them from the office. But what's become very clear, Mr. Mayor, there are some issues that we're trying to look at, and as a result of that, officers are now working on a new policy to make sure that actually everyone complies with this. So in the near future, there will be a report coming to Cabinet, and then subsequently it will come to the Council for approval. The new policy will mean that it's going to go above the recommendation of the independent review carried out by Simon Bailey to ensure that we operate the highest standards and the public can have confidence in political representative. We will encourage the group leaders for their support and take the policy to Standard Committee to make a recommendation to Council. We will look at practical ways that we can support councillors apply for DBS checks and make the process easier. And just for clarification, Mr. Mayor, all Labour councillors actually have completed their DBS checks. Thank you.
Sorry, probably it's not my job to say this, but I was just going to ask you, is it possible for you to consider that on websites where you have councillor names, we at least as council declare that DBS is done, not done, because that puts public on safety, so they can take appropriate decision? Would you consider that when you formulating new policy, you don't have to say no? But
no, I'm happy to respond, Mr. Mayor, because especially if your last meeting, I just want to make sure I give you a complete answer.
That could be a good present for me.
Yes, absolutely. So absolutely, leaders kindly agreed to your request, and there's no reason why we can't do that. Thank you.
Question from Shadab Kumar. I have seen publicity about Tommyfield Market traders moving soon to their new homes in the Spindles. Could the leader of the council clarify when this is taking place and what range of market stalls will be trading from the new venue?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Call on Councillor Shah to respond.
Thank you. I assumed it was me, given it's my portfolio. But thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to respond to this question, and also to Shadab for asking this question. We are currently in the process of planning that move with stall holders, but we haven't got a final date yet, because that is going to depend on some of the fit-outs that are still being confirmed and agreed. We expect the actual move to be sometime during the summer. We will jointly agree that with the traders themselves, and then formalise an opening date. But I am really pleased to actually reconfirm that thanks to the Community Regeneration Fund that has been recently announced by the government, we are going to be covering the costs of the move, and where required, some of the fit-outs and anything that we can to support the market traders. And the market will include over 50 businesses that are currently already on the Tommyfield market site, with others that aren't going to move from there will be moving into other units in Spindles and other areas of the town centre. And it gives me the opportunity to also acknowledge how important our traders are to our borough, and how important they are to as part of our regeneration plans as well. And I'm really pleased on a personal level about how we've really managed to work closely with them over the last 2 years. I can't wait till the new market opens for them this summer, and I can't wait for our residents to be able to enjoy the experience as they thrive in this new chapter in their lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Hannah Roberts. The Millgate Theatre in Delft is a community theatre offering live theatre, music and film run by and for local people, based in a historic building in a conservation area. The Saddleworth Players will be 100-year-old in 2027. What support can the council give towards the building for the future fundraising campaign to preserve and extend the work at the Millgate, including developing the Saddleworth Players Youth Group? I call upon Cabinet Member for Thriving Communities and Culture, Councillor Dean, to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Anna, for the question. The Council are currently in the process of transferring the freehold of the property to the Arts Centre to allow them to apply for external funding to complete the structural works to the building and preserve it for future generations. Also, I would encourage the theatre company to engage with the cultural partnership, where they would have direct access and consultations that might be very beneficial to them. Thank you.
Question from Catherine Phillips. I'm really dismayed with W.H. Smith has put up all their high street shops for sale, including the one in the Spindles. This was announced just after it became the public. The post office is also under threat. What can the council do to make sure there is an easily accessible town centre post office? Is it possible for a Crown post office to be reopened? I call upon the Leader of Council and Cabinet Member for Building a Better Oldham, Councillor Shaw, to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to Catherine Phillips for her question. I was also really disappointed to see that W.H. Smith had decided to close their Oldham shop. It's unfortunate that another big high street brand has taken the decision to step away from town centres, but we've already had several inquiries about the future use of the space, and I'm hopeful that we'll attract a retailer that Oldhamers want to shop at, and conversations around those are already ongoing. Turning to the matter of the town centre post office, the post office have been working towards appointing a new postmaster for the town centre since W.H. Smith announced their decision to close their store in Spindles. They're also following their usual application process for the new opportunity, but I have been told and informed that is a really lengthy process, something that we don't have any control over. Applicants are required to submit a business plan, which includes details of the premises in which they operate or plan to operate. So because the council are really keen to retain the post office within the town centre, we have worked via our appointed letting agents to help this process as much as we can. We've received a number of inquiries from interested parties about details of available units in Spindles for a new post office, and our letting agents have agreed cost and lease terms with a number of potential franchises in that regard. So it's now up to the post office to select their preferred postmaster. That isn't a process that we have any influence over, but it's a confidential process with the post office, and unfortunately, until the post office inform us, we're not going to be able to confirm who they've appointed as an operator. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The next question is from Louis Farnworth. My question is about PIP payments due to the cuts on personal independence payments. That those unable to work, are you going to carry on taking PIP contribution to care despite the National Labour Party reducing PIP payments, which will leave the most vulnerable in poverty? I call upon Cabinet Member for Adults, Health and Wellbeing, Councillor Barbara Brownish, to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Farnworth, for your question. So people in receipt of adult social care services are required to be means tested to determine their eligibility for financial assistance with care costs. Through the financial assessment process, people are asked about their earnings, including pensions and benefits, so that their individual financial situation can be calculated. As a result of the recent announcement and changes to the PIP payments, it is likely that people in receipt of this benefit will need to be reassessed as a result of their income changing. As per the legislation we're operating within, we have a duty to continue to financially assess people and the income they are in receipt of, which is a consistent and fair approach. But we also need to remember this is a change that's being processed through a green paper, and as such there will be opportunities for consultations to take place. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Mark Roy. During the recent council meeting, Councillor Shuttleworth raised an important point on housing development. The council lead did not have the information to hand, but promised to supply Councillor Shuttleworth with the information. How will the answer to that question be conveyed to the residents and voters of Oldham? I call upon Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Decent Homes, Councillor Taylor, to respond, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your question, Mr. Rowe. It's a very valid one, actually. So the Council recently published its annual monitoring report, which includes data on planning applications and housing permissions, such as that asked about by Councillor Shuttleworth. Ordinarily, questions we receive advance notice of are published on the Council's website after the Council meeting. However, in this case, there was an honest mistake made in the proceedings, even though Councillor Shuttleworth had given notice of his question in advance. In relation to Councillor Shuttleworth's specific questions, he asked, firstly, within the last 5 years, how many house building applications have been granted? I can confirm that over the past 5 years, between 2019 and 2024, a total of 420 applications for 3,854 homes have been granted. His second question, in which districts have such applications been submitted and for how many properties? I can confirm that applications have been approved in all districts, the most in North District with 1,251 homes and the least in West District with 410 homes. His third question was how many approved developments have yet to see a spade in the ground, and the response to that is 73% of the homes granted permission have either been completed or are under construction, leaving only 27% of the homes granted permission on sites where we are yet to see a spade in the ground. So again, apologies that didn't go on the website, and we will obviously be more diligent in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Taylor, and that's the probably first time we managed to go through all the questions, so thank you, everyone. Item 9, we will now take item 9, reports of leader and cabinet members. There are 90 minutes set aside for this item. Each cabinet member has a maximum of up to 4 minutes to present the report, with a further 6 minutes of questions from non-executive members. We have received several questions in advance from Councillor Craig, which have been accepted. I understand, Councillor Craig, that you have received written answers to all of those questions, and they will publish on the Council website after the meeting. I am mindful that there are 2 questions you want to ask to the 2 minutes. Sorry, I'll count to them. 2 minutes, and I'm mindful there are 2 questions you want to ask, and if you have time, of course you can. So, sorry, Councillor Woodburn.
To suspend Procedure Rules Part 4A 2.1.3I relating to questions to the leader to allow me to ask a question as the minority opposition leader should time run out, which I expect it will once councillors Ghaffur and Sykes have spoken.
So I take it as a motion. Do we have any second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded. So we need to ask all those in the favour. We'll have to do counting, I think. Would you keep your hands up, please, just to make sure that I don't get it wrong? Any against? Please raise your hand. So against 30, sorry, you lost your motion. Right.
26, 31.
26, 31. 31. Better Oldham to present her report, including the minutes of the range of meetings as listed in the council agenda and urgent decisions made during 2024-25.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I want to take a moment to highlight something that's just a paragraph in the report, but carries tremendous significance. Last week, Mr. Mayor, the Chief Executive and I had the privilege of representing the Council and making our case for being named the most improved council at the Local Government Chronicle Awards. This recognition alone speaks volumes about the extraordinary strides we've made over the past few years, and I know colleagues in this chamber will join me in celebrating the improvement of the vital services that the residents of Oldham rely on. When we look at the progress we've made, we can proudly say we're the fastest improving council in the country when it comes to our children's services Ofsted inspection. The work we've done here is remarkable, it truly is, Mr. Mayor. And just as important, we've halved the number of agency staff in our children's social care teams, creating a more stable environment for our children and for our families. We know we can't do this alone, which is why we've partnered with our schools to elevate the education across the borough. Today, 85% of our schools, primary and secondary schools, are rated good or outstanding. And we're not stopping there. Our goal is simple. Every child deserves to go to a school that is at least good, and we're going to make that happen. On that note, we've recently received praise from the Children's Commissioner for England for our trailblazing work to improve attendance and reduce persistent absence. We know that children thrive when they're in the classroom, and we're doing everything we can to make sure they are learning and that they're growing. And for that, I want to thank Matt Bulmer, our Director of Education, Councillor Mohan Ali, for all the work they've put into that. Our family hubs have always also been a huge success. 98% of first-time attendees said that they would return, and that's just incredible. I'm genuinely optimistic that these hubs will transform the way we deliver services, making it easier for families to access the support that they need right on their doorstep. We've also made huge strides in SEND services. In just the last year, the waiting times for speech and language therapy have been cut in half, and that's no small feat, especially when many councils across the country are struggling to meet the rising demand for SEND services. As chair of the LGA's Children and Young People Board, I can tell you this progress is nothing short of extraordinary. In public health, we're seeing positive results too. Our social prescribing service has supported over 1,300 residents since November, and 75% of them have reported a positive impact on their well-being. And we can all be incredibly proud of the fact that the number of pregnant smokers in Oldham has halved. This will make a real difference in the lives of mothers and their children. And when we talk about regeneration, it's not just about new buildings, it's about people. Our investments are focused on improving lives, from economic opportunities to health and well-being. Over the past few years, we've secured more than £170 million in external investment, and we won't stop there. We're committed to creating jobs and driving prosperity for Oldhamers. Our latest success, the £20 million of the Community Regeneration Fund, is a game changer. The money will go towards projects across the borough that will directly benefit everyone in Oldham. And personally, I'm really excited about the Sports Town initiative. I truly believe this investment has the potential to be the springboard for something really special here in Oldham. We're seeing tangible improvements in our town centre. Footfall has increased by 1,000 people a day, a clear sign that our efforts to make the town centre a place of pride and economic growth are working. Oldhamers are business-minded by nature, and we're seeing a 15% increase in the number of new businesses being registered here. That's why we created the Hive and Spindles, a space where new businesses can collaborate and grow, and already we're seeing the fruits of this work with the launch of the Oldham Trading Platform. Our town centre master plan in partnership with Muse is part of this regeneration. Together we're going to deliver 2,000 homes and create a town centre park that will breathe new life into the heart of Oldham. We're also committed to sustainability. Thanks to Councillor Jabbar and our Green New Deal, we've reduced the Council's carbon dioxide emissions by 25% in the last 5 years. And last year, we were the 4th most improved council in the country for recycling, and the number of electric vehicle charging points across the borough has tripled. But it's not just about the town centre. We've delivered 2,500 new homes across the borough in the last 4 years alone, with plans for 12,000 more over the next 15 years. This is about building communities where people want to live, work and invest. In what has been one of the most challenging years financially, we've managed to set a budget without dipping into reserves. This is no small achievement, especially when local councils up and down the country are facing financial struggles. But despite these challenges, we're still moving forward, and we're doing it without compromising the services that our residents rely on. We've protected essential services from the Household Support Fund to free holiday activities for children, and we've kept our commitment to those most in need. And lastly, I want to highlight how important it is that our staff feel connected to this journey. 9 out of 10 staff members have feel trusted to do their jobs, and 85% believe they are making a positive impact on the services they deliver. These results are proof that the people working in the heart of our council are as committed as we are to improving the lives in Oldham. But I'm not naive, Mr. Mayor. I know we don't get everything right.
Sorry, you're out of time, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Apologies. Can I call on Councillor Sykes, leader of Liberal Democrat Group, to ask his first question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The new Labour government's been in office now for nearly a year, and let's have a look at their record so far. Labour started by refusing to lift the 2-child cap on universal credit, a measure which would have taken more than 11,000 children in our borough out of poverty. Next, they plunged 85% of pensioners in our borough into uncertainty by announcing cuts to winter fuel payments, including nearly 8,000 pensioners who are over the age of 80. Then came the hike in national insurance for all employers. One of the side effects has caused the cost of social care services to rocket in our borough and put a real squeeze on small businesses. We've also seen the scandalous cuts, or proposed cuts, to personal independence payment, which is a lifeline for so many people across our borough. It's there for a reason, to support people who can't work because they have health conditions that aren't going to get better, like Parkinson's and MS. Labour nationally have also abandoned their support for WASPI women. My question to the leader tonight is a simple one. Nearly a year into this Labour government, almost a year of austerity with a red rose, is this what she thinks people voted for?
Councillor Shah.
The question's always simple from the leader of the opposition, but it's always a challenge to actually get to it. However, important points made from Councillor Howard Sykes, but I would like to remind him that it's 9 months of a Labour government, and we understand that public service isn't easy, it's complex, but what they inherited can't be underestimated. It was a lot worse than they had ever anticipated. The government is determined to fix the broken social security and welfare system to support those who can work and do so, and protect those who can't, and that is a really important thing. So we can make these political points in the chamber if we like, because that's what this chamber is designed for, and some people love that opportunity, but there's a real serious issue in this, and that is that system's broken. We've heard the rhetoric around it, we've heard the kind of language that's used, but actually it is now an opportunity for us to make sure that we give those people who want to work not only the opportunity to work, but the respect that comes with it too. 1 in 8 young people from the broken system that the government inherited are not in employment, education or training. The Tories have effectively written off millions of people, trapping them in a life of inactivity and then blaming them for a rising benefits bill. And they've done that to grab really cheap headlines instead of providing the support that they needed initially to get into work in the first place. We're committed, Mr Mayor, to ensuring that Oldham residents have access to impartial advice and support they need and deserve. And this includes our own support and inclusion team, because we've never just relied on the government. We understand what our responsibility is as an administration, and wherever we can, we've used that opportunity to make sure that we fill in the gaps or we support people as and when they need it, regardless of what national policy may come. We understand what that responsibility is. We always factor it in, and we always have a firm commitment to support the most vulnerable in our communities. This includes our own support and inclusion team, welfare rights, and our commission services, such as Citizens Advice and Age UK. And an example of where we've been proactive in this area, you'll have seen most recently, is our pension credit campaign, where we wrote to hundreds of pensioners offering support to claim pension credit. And to date, this campaign has brought in an additional £250,000 per year, that money that wouldn't have otherwise been paid to Oldham local people. We will always maximise on those opportunities. We will always protect the most vulnerable, and we will also do what we have to do proactively to mitigate any risks or any kind of pressures on them.
Thank you, Councillor Shah. Councillor Sykes, your second question.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We heard a version of the all being rosy in the garden earlier on, and I'd like to, my second question is would like to paint a slightly different picture. The most common issues that fill our inboxes on this side are to do with potholes, overgrown footpaths, blocked drains, or the state of our local parks and green spaces. These are the basics, and if my inbox is anything to go off, Oldham Council is dreadful at getting the basics right. In July 23, you voted down a Liberal Democrat motion which aims to improve frontline services through some cross-party working, something you always ask for, but actually never, ever, 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 ever take up. In fact, for many years now, Oldham Labour have consistently voted against things put forward by myself and Liberal Democrat colleagues to invest more in roads, footpaths, parks and green spaces. We're still Labour have cut environmental services staff, which will mean the basics will get worse, not better, across the borough. It's certainly true when it comes to the state of our gullies and pavements. For months now, the Council's fleet of 6 small sweepers has been consistently breaking down, and on some days there have been no functioning sweeper at all. I understand there might be some light on the horizon, but why have we waited for our fleet to be clapped out and broke before we start to replace it? Meanwhile, littering, dogfouling offences continue unabated, with the Council failing to issue fixed penalty notices in any meaningful way or consistently come up with stronger solutions to tackle the issue. Oldham Borough is deemed to be one of the worst fly-tipping hotspots in the North West. Does the leader accept that the Council is failing to get the basics right? And does she agree with me and us that the real way to show leadership would to make these basic services the subject of a scrutiny review this summer, so that all councillors of all parties and none can get involved and drive improvements together for the benefit of the citizens we all serve? Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Sorry, we're out of time, but I'll give you 10 seconds to respond.
Well, in short, what I would really like to point out is that Councillor Sykes is completely erasing and rewriting history. Any budget cuts have come forward because of the last 14 years of austerity, not the 9 months of government. And the reality is, the reason why we brought down his motions is he talks about getting the basic service right when he can't even extend basic courtesy to our staff, not just environment services, but across the organisation. They do a tremendously difficult job in difficult circumstances, and they do it with pride. And I have to resent the continuous attack on our employees that they bring to this chamber. And
May I request you to publish the answer?
Yeah, can I do? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I, sorry,
Just Mr Mayor, is it appropriate that somebody can say I'm discourteous to council staff? You'd pull other people in this chamber for using that sort of language.
Well, do you want to respond to why you use such words?
Well, yeah, if you're saying that this council always gets the basics wrong and then that is disrespectful to the staff. That's what the motions always have.
Thank you very much. And if you still don't agree, you should take her to Standards Board, is called. Yeah, thank you. I will I will now invite the cabinet members to present their reports. Again, please, could I remind cabinet members that they have a maximum of 4 minutes to present, and apologies, I missed it in the last one. and they have a maximum of 4 minutes to present and their reports and 6 minutes for non-executive members' questions. Councillor Taylor, Deputy Leader and Decent Homes Portfolio.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to start off by picking up on Places for Everyone. As the leader explained earlier, after writing to the government in February, as this council agreed to make the request of the Secretary of State to revoke Places for Everyone as it relates to Oldham, we received a reply yesterday from Matthew Pennycook MP, Minister of State for Housing and Planning. To reiterate what the leader said earlier, the council's request was unequivocally rejected. The letter from the government reiterates its clear commitment to the plan-led system because of the stability and certainty that local plans provide. The government wants to see universal local plan coverage as quickly as possible. Revoking a sound and robust adopted plan like Places for Everyone is clearly counterintuitive to those aims, as Oldham would be left with no up-to-date plan to make planning decisions based upon. Mr Pennycook was clear that authorities that fail to maintain an up-to-date plan are failing their communities, and the government are prepared to use their powers of intervention where a local authority does not fulfil their statutory duties to have an up-to-date local plan. As a result, council officers will now focus their attention on preparing our Part 2 local plan for Oldham to sit alongside Places for Everyone, for which Cabinet approved an updated timetable in March. In other positive news, I want to report that the number of residents and families that are placed in temporary accommodation is continuing to reduce. As we all know, these figures peaked at the end of September last year, but in the intervening period, those numbers have reduced from 722 to 616. And while I absolutely recognise that 616 people in temporary accommodation is still too many, as I explained at Budget Council, we are investing £3 million to support a mitigation and prevention approach. This will benefit families placed in TA for a number of reasons. Firstly, it will provide us with more options to keep those families in borough, and we know how important that is for the children of these families who often are not able to get to school for that reason. But it will also help to ensure that families do not have to stay in temporary accommodation for any longer than absolutely necessary. Our housing service redesign is now nearing completion, and it is now more important than ever to focus on prevention moving upstream in order to become a more proactive service. It is an administration priority to invest in this service to ensure it is proactive and not reactive, and to break the cycle of crisis management that has come on the back of the national housing crisis. In an effort to become more efficient and effective and to reduce costs to the council, the team have also been working on a number of mitigations and reviews to maximise opportunity and benefit. A historic review of housing benefit claims has yielded over £1 million, which will help to offset the cost of temporary accommodation. And although we are moving in the right direction on the homelessness agenda, sadly we know that numbers on the housing register are continuing to increase, with many families still waiting to obtain social housing. We are increasing the number of social houses with our new build programme, but obviously this doesn't happen overnight. In the meantime, therefore, we are continuing to work with our social landlords, as we no longer own these properties, so via our housing partnership to look at how we can create a more flexible approach to the housing allocation system. But what I really want to finish by saying is that I do appreciate that members across the chamber are regularly helping to support residents who are looking for more suitable accommodation. But I do want to issue a plea this evening. If you are dealing with residents who need additional assistance or have concerns about the state of the property they are living in, can you please bring this to the attention of the housing team or the housing standards team? What I'm actually seeing is more and more posts on social media about individual situations where they've not been brought to the attention of the team.
Thank you,
I just want to make that point because I think it is quite important. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Right, I got Councillor Woodvine first.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Shah circulated a letter to group leaders, which she received from the Minister of State for Housing and Planning, rejecting Oldham's request to revoke Places for Everyone. In the letter, the Minister states the Council may wish to provide further reasons and justification for the revocation. This is a result of the fact that Councillor Shah and the CEO did not represent the wishes of full Council and did not provide any justification whatsoever in the letter they co-signed and which was sent to the Deputy Prime Minister. Does the Cabinet member agree that Councillor Shah has undermined the majority of elected members in this chamber and has done a disservice to the people of Oldham who do not support this master plan, simply to further her own political ends, and please, Mr Burnham. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Taylor, can I just clarify something? So I'm not seeing the correspondence. Did you send something different than what was on the motion?
No.
Okay, can you just answer this?
So, no, I absolutely reject everything that's just been said. So this council has taken the best of legal advice that has been, and that found that there was no justification whatsoever for withdrawing from places for everyone. The government has reaffirmed this position in the letter. Clearly, if there was a justification, the opposition members would have provided it, but despite being repeatedly asked to do so, they haven't, which reinforces the truth of what this is, political games. Thank you.
Councillor Akhtar.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Elaine, Councillor Taylor, thank you for informing us that £3 million is being proposed to look at the housing issue that we've got across the borough. At the last council meeting, there was commitment given to cross-party involvement on this issue, and is that commitment still on the table?
I got loads of questions, please. Can we have a very brief answer?
Sorry, I need further clarification. Sorry, in what respect was cross-party working?
In terms of looking at the housing crisis that we've got across the borough, and there was a commitment given that we will look at this as a cross-party and other members will be involved from opposition parties. There's an amendment.
Is there any chance that we can pick it offline? Because I'm mindful that many people want to ask questions that if you don't know.
I'm happy to pick this up outside, but yeah, more than happy. Yeah, absolutely.
Councillor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be brief. Only a few weeks ago, I raised a question with Councillor Taylor regarding the site of the old Oddies Bar and Middleton Road in Royton, which will be converted to a hotel. News now that the former Church Inn building directly opposite has also been approved for conversion into a hotel. While she thinks about the council's attempt to create a golden mile in Royton, can I ask her exactly the same question? Did she or anybody in this council have any discussions or any knowledge of plans to use either of the now 2 hotels a short distance from St Paul's Primary School for housing asylum seekers either before or after the change of use was granted? Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And thank you to Councillor Arnott for the question. So we did have a brief chat actually over the weekend about this, where I said that obviously I'm not always fully briefed on every application that comes in at the earliest possible stage. And the reason for that, I explained. I don't have any advance notification, and I did explain this when I spoke to you last time. I still don't know about the first issue that you raised. I still don't think that has come in as a planning application, although I know that you are anticipating it too. I'm happy to take this offline. I have already offered to set a meeting up with you next week to discuss other issues, and I'm happy to add that to those meetings as well.
Thank you. Councillor Hamdani.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, Housing Act 2004 clarifies the definition of a house in multiple occupation, HMO. This is separate to whether it's counted as planning or licensing as an HMO. There are 3 tests that can be carried out to see if a building is an HMO. Standard test for HMOs, the self-contained flat test, the converted building tests. Could you tell me how many buildings has Oldham Council defined as an HMO by year, excluding those which are defined as such by licensing or by planning since 2020? Thank you.
Councillor Taylor.
So I don't have those figures to hand, as I'm sure you'll appreciate, but what I will endeavour to do is I will get them and include them in my right of response to your amendment, because I don't have those to hand. Apologies if you've submitted that, but I haven't seen the question.
Sorry, thank you. Councillor Nashin.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Labour government removed the need for Secretary of State approval of wider selective licensing schemes last December. What plans does the Council have to use the new freedom to improve private sector standards across the borough? Thank you.
Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Nasheen. Having secured additional funding from the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, Oldham Council is looking to expand the selective licensing scheme in conjunction with the Greater Manchester Mayor. In order to ensure guidance is followed and the scheme is correctly applied, a research exercise has been commissioned to determine the extent of the areas that will fall within a selective licensing scheme. We anticipate that this exercise will be completed later this year, and in accordance with the guidance, the scheme will come into effect in early 2026. In the meantime, the private sector housing team continues to respond to a range of issues raised by tenants in Oldham and uses a range of legal powers to ensure compliance and property standards. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we don't have a time for other questions. I have people who indicated: Councillor Haynes, Councillor Iqbal, Councillor Malik, and Councillor Ghaffur. Please feel free to put your questions in writing so Councillor Taylor can give her responses in writing as well. So move on to Councillor Jabbar, Deputy Leader and Value for Money and Sustainability Portfolio. Councillor Jabbar.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just cover the main points. Obviously, last financial year has been extremely challenging, given the demand that we saw in adult social care, children's services, and temporary accommodation. And you'll recall that at the beginning of the first quarter, we were projecting an overspend of 26 million. But at the end of month 3, we were looking at 14.5 million. So obviously a massive amount of work has gone in to reduce that overspend. And I want to take this opportunity, Mr. Mayor, to thank the Chief Executive, the executive team, to the work they've done to reduce this overspend. It's really has been very, very difficult, and demand is still increasing in some area. We are really very eagerly waiting the spring statement in June to understand how that we can have a better fair funding formula, which will hopefully give us the resources that we need to continue to provide the services to our local community. Obviously, council like Oldham would benefit from a fair funding formula. The reason being is that our council tax base is very low, but our needs are quite high. So a fair funding formula would recognise the council tax base, but also recognise the deprivation that we have in our borough and give us funding accordingly. So we're really looking forward to that. I mean, clearly, the 26-27 budget remains an extremely challenging situation to create a balanced budget, but we're very pleased that we were able to set out a balanced budget for this financial year, 25-26. In terms of revenues benefit, Mr. Mayor, work is going on to expand GovTech, which is a software which uses technology to automize most of the back office functions and therefore make the service efficient and release human resources to do some of the other stuff, and we're very grateful for that. In terms of the collection rate projected for last financial year, we're hoping that our collection rate for council tax will be above 94% and for business rate will be above 95%. I'm very pleased to say that the annual billing was completed without any incident at all, and all the council tax bill and the business rates were sent out on time. In respect of digital inclusion, Mr. Mayor, we're working with a number of partners, including Inclusive Byte, to make sure that we eradicate the deficit that we've got in digital exclusion. We hope that we've got some funding from Greater Manchester. We hope that using that funding, we'll be able to set hubs in neighbourhoods where people can go and access services. And I'm really encouraged by some of the work that's been done. We had a workshop back in January, and it was attended by a lot of key partners who have taken this extremely seriously. I'm delighted to welcome Heather Moores as the Assistant Director for Governance. Welcome, Heather. She used to work here before, but now she's come as Head of Governance, and I'm sure we'll all want to wish her the best of luck in her new post. In relation to some of the green stuff that the leader touched on in her report, Wrigley had our ground-mounted solar farm. We cleared the site. We're now finalising the connection between the site to the grid, and once that's done, work will actually start on installing the panels on the ground. And then finally, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say that we also had a good debate at the Place Scrutiny Board on the 2nd of April.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar.
My time is not up yet.
It is up.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure your time is up, but to speak, your time is up. So, can I just say, Heather, welcome, and I totally agree. I think you will need a luck, best of luck. So, I got a few people who already indicated, so I will start by Councillor Quigg.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Jabbar has got oversight of the majority of the question, but it relates to a motion that was passed at this council in regards to divestment from BAE Systems, BP, Glencore and other such companies on the idea that these companies sold to Israel, and as such, because it's the only Jewish state, that this council would divest its pension fund. They would divest its pension fund as a result. This is a scandalous use and reckless behaviour of essentially people's pension funds. And given the stock market turbulence that has recently been faced by many pension funds across the world, is it not reckless that this council should not be investing in British aerospace, British defence companies, who, after all, are the ones that will be defending this island from foreign aggressors such as Russia, Iran and China, who have already torn up the fields of Ukraine, are threatening to invade Taiwan, and obviously have caused much of the trouble in the Middle East. Is it not time to back British instead of backing Britain's enemies?
Thank you very much. Councillor Jabbar, would you like to answer?
Yeah, I've given Councillor Quigg a written answer, Mr. Mayor. The fundamental issue is that Councillor Quigg doesn't appreciate what happened at the meeting when the motion was passed. The motion related to divesting from fossil fuel. That was the first part. And the second part was about not investing in arms company. Now, Greater Manchester Pension Fund is an independent fund. We don't have any investment. We don't control anything. We have a relationship because our employees are part of a pension scheme that we contribute to. That's it. The council don't invest in it. We don't have a control in it. So there are many employers who part in that. So to suggest that we have total control and misrepresent what was passed in here, I mean, it was moved by the independent group, and they'll tell you what was said in there. It's completely wrong, and I don't know why Councillor Quigg tends to distort everything that we do in here, because that is not the fact. He needs to understand. He needs to understand.
Please, can you talk to the mayor and just let cabinet member to answer the question?
The Oldham Council does not control the Greater Manchester Pension Fund.
I understood you very clearly.
Thank
Can we
you.
move on from there, please?
No, but he's saying, right, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. We haven't got the control to do it. We don't invest in it. All we do is contribute because of our employees. That's it. That's our relationship. Now, the fund has a responsibility to make sure that it spends the investment in a correct way so that at the end, the members who contribute, they get a pension. And they try to do it ethically. And that's the point. But that's the fundamental point. And they do it ethically, and they're a very good company. They're one of the biggest in the country. And actually, if you look, their performance has been very consistent, and they're one of the better companies as far as sustainability is concerned. So I don't know why he twisted it. Yeah, and I think, Mr. Mayor, what is very, very disappointing is every opportunity Councillor Quigg has, he tries to twist it so that the whole thing becomes divisive.
Mr. Mayor,
Really
can Councillor Jabbar either answer the question or just move it, given he's had it written in advance?
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have a point of order?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was just to indicate, Councillor Jabbar said that we don't have any control over the pension fund. We do have a representative on the board of the pension fund, Councillor Jabbar, so we do have some means of having our views heard.
That's very helpful. You educated Councillor Jabbar. I got a next question. When you come back, you can probably expand on that. Councillor Al-Hamdani, actually, it's you again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In recent years, the council has been using local small businesses to pay out the household support vouchers. They then claim the money back from the council. I've been approached by a number of businesses who have been saying to me that the small payments available for managing the scheme are not worth the amount of time it takes them. They are faced with, at times, hostile claimants. They have to keep cash on the site, which at times they feel makes them vulnerable, and they have to wait to get the money back once they've paid it out. I've also been told, although I've not had it verified, it is being looked into, that there have been some businesses who've been charging claimants an administration fee for processing those claims. Would the Cabinet member consider finding an alternative way to manage providing this money to residents, please?
Councillor Jabbar, just a warning in advance, you got 1 minute 20 seconds.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question, and it's a really important one because we try to help every customer who gets this voucher to cash it locally without any problem. So we have done previously used the post office, but for some customer it wasn't appropriate. So we've gone to the pay point so that everybody can have access to it easily. I'm happy to look at the problem. Where there's been some problem, we try to resolve it straight away. But it's a balance between trying to say, well, go to your bank, go to your post office, or to say to go to your local pay point, and we try to give you the facility to cash that. That's what we're trying to do. But if you've got any poor experience or any suggestion how we can make better, please, I'm happy to have a conversation, because ultimately these are very vulnerable people. We try to support them, and we will support them if there's a better way of doing it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
To expand on pension thing, I'm just giving you opportunity.
Yeah, so I'm a representative, Mr. Mayor. The reason I'm representative is because we have a relationship because of our employees contribute to that fund. We don't invest any money in it. The council doesn't have any financial stake apart from that relationship. That's it. And people don't seem to understand. So the value.
That's the time when I say
the value of the fund is £40 billion.
Thank you
very
much.
Members' money that's been invested and grown. Thank you.
Okay. Can I just apologize to Councillor Junaid Hussain, Councillor Lancaster, Councillor Aslam, who did not get a chance to ask their question. Please do put them in writing so you can read the answers on website, hopefully. In the absence of Councillor Mushtaq, Children and Young People's Portfolio Holder, could I ask Councillor Mohan Ali to just move the report? And if we have questions from Councillor Zahir Ali, please could I ask...
Mr. Mayor, can I please raise a point of order on this? Apologies for interrupting.
Yes.
If you wouldn't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'm led to understand that both Councillors Harrison and Councillor Navesy are the Deputy Cabinet members behind Councillor Mushtaq. So I wondered why it's the case that they might not be deputising in his place, considering his absence this evening.
Not for me to answer. Anyone wishes to answer any question?
Because because they are deputies and not the cabinet member. It's a cabinet member report.
They're not meant to deputise.
Mr. Mayor, as I understood,
they don't
involves deputising.
I think it will be fair to say that you can't force people to deputise for someone, please.
They don't deputise the whole... They also don't deputise the full portfolio. They have like certain responsibilities in that. They wouldn't be equipped to respond to all the questions posed to them. It'd be unfair to put them in that situation. They have specific responsibilities in that portfolio, not the broad responsibility.
Thank you very much.
And people have are entitled to give apologies to a meeting.
Councillor, sorry, please, can I... Please. Councillor Mohan Ali, do you want to move the report?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I move the report as read? And as you've said, if people have got questions, please can you direct them to Councillor Mushtaq, who will, when he returns, he will answer those questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mohan Ali, you are again Education and Skills Portfolio.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in presenting my report, I'm just like to first of all just say how I'm pleased to inform that in February we held the Children's Service Staff Awards celebration. The event was a success with 350 attendees, 294 nominations, and 28 staffs and teams receiving an award of appreciation. Following the event, the workforce fed back, feeling valued, appreciated, and recognised for the work they do for our residents as we continue to maintain a significant focus on workforce retention. In terms of SEND and inclusion, the positive improvements to services for children and young people with SEND continues at pace, driven through the SEND Local Inclusion Partnership Executive Board. The timeliness of educational healthcare needs, assessments and annual reviews are tracking higher than the national average, and monthly audits of the quality of the educational healthcare plans are providing assurance on the quality of plans for children and young people. In terms of recognizing the importance of attendance, the secondary outreach service has also been implemented, and we will begin supporting secondary mainstream pupils who are at risk of exclusion. In terms of education, the quality of school provision in Oldham continues to improve, with Waterhead Academy Ofsted judgment improved from inadequate with special measures to require some improvement. And also St Agnes Church of England School, Whitegates End and Lyndhurst Primary Schools remaining good. The secondary school offer day was the 3rd of March 2025. The admissions team worked incredibly hard to ensure all parents were informed by 10 a.m. On that day. There were 3,242 applications received. Oldham preference figures for 2025 are 76.3% first preference, which is an increase of 2.2% from 2024. And first to third preference is 93.6%, which is again an increase of 1.1% from 2024. In addition, Mr. Mayor, the Oldham Virtual School, which supports the children looked after, have delivered 2 programs that have been identified through the aspirations and interest recorded in children's personal education plans. There was a construction workshop and taster day, which they attended, which involved the opportunity to experience brickwork and other painting and decorating, motor vehicle and plastering, and the feedback from the young people was extremely positive. They also attended Bolton University, where they had a supported tour of the facilities, and also met with lecturers exploring the programs available at the university. Moving on to our music service, the youth choir joined other young musicians and singers from the Greater Manchester and Blackburn with Darwen Music Hub to present a special concert performance of Neil Brand's evocative Wind in the Willows and Malcolm Arnold's Peterloo Overture at the Bridgewater Hall. The Oldham Music Centre Youth Brass Band also played a concert to the packed Royton Band Club. Band members and locals were delighted to have concerts in their area. Also on the 26th of March, between 400 and 500 young musicians who have been learning in schools for 6 to 18 months congregated at the Music Centre and the Queen Elizabeth Hall, and did a half-day training with all the teachers at the music service.
Thank you, Councillor Mohanali. Very comprehensive report. Let's get some questions from the members. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bishop first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Schools will be receiving only a 0.7 rise in funding this year. This is below inflation and will nowhere near cover the rising costs. Many local councils are in a deficit in terms of high needs funding, and Oldham Council has just gone into this category. Thanks to inaction by the government, SEND funding continues to be a ticking time bomb, and with spending reviews like this, so will school funding overall. Will the Cabinet member be lobbying his colleagues in government to fund schools properly and to address the SEND funding crisis? Thank you.
Consali?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bishop, for your question. I mean, you would see that, that we have actually got a motion tonight, and this is exactly what the motion will be calling. So obviously we recognise that there are significant challenges, in funding, and as you've said, many councils in the country have certainly accumulated an eye-watering special needs and spending deficits. And just to sort of make you aware, at least 12 councils throughout England have forecast accumulated deficits more than 100 million, running as high as 312 million in some council, and obviously when the debts will have to be settled. But what I will do is, so we're going through that, you know, at the motion that we have planned for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Iqbal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Oldham virtual school supports the education of children looked after, as well as the initiatives in the report. Can the Cabinet member outline what else this service delivers?
Councillor.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Iqbal, for your question. The Oldham virtual school supports the education of children looked after and has recently extended its duties for children previously looked after and those in kinship care. Education is monitored through the personal education plans, and there is an extensive program of raising aspirations. Examples include courses in skills like cookery and university visits. More details are available in the virtual school annual report, which was presented to the corporate parenting panel in January 2025. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's great to see that the NEAT figures are dropping thanks to targeted intervention. Is this something that will continue to be the priority for the Council, or are we at risk of this figure creeping back up?
Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Pete Davis, for your question. The Council is focused on supporting young people to progress into education, employment and training. For instance, we have recently worked hard to attract both the YMCA and North Lancashire training back into Oldham. This means we now have more training opportunities available for our young people. We continue to work hard with our Commission partners, positive steps to support all our young people into employment and training opportunities. Our ambition is to build upon this positive trend with the development of the government's Get Britain Working Youth Guarantee when it's rolled out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Nasheen, do you have a question? Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions? I got 1 minute. Okay, take it as no. Councillor Ali, thank you very much for your detailed report and also the question and answers. See if Councillor Hussain can compete with you. Councillor Fida Hussain, Enterprise
Well, you'll be glad to know, Mr. Mayor, that as always, I will present my report as presented and happy to take questions. I'm sure you'll be glad to know that.
I'm not sure whether Councillor Quigg will be glad or not. Councillor Quigg, you're the first one.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Hussain, I refer to the question I've written, but usually when you use a working space of the kind that the Hive is being used for, the council is using the council is obviously sublet it to the company that's doing the Hive, but they are using the council's address as basically to use the business and basically as a postal address and as a register's address. What KYC has the council done on those who are using the Hive and using it for the business? What due diligence have they done on the background of those using the Hive? In particular, anyone with a criminal record or financial impropriety? And furthermore, what have the council done in order to advertise this properly, given a number of businesses are keen to use such workspace, given the reduced rate of rent that is offered by the council on the Hive? Thank you.
Councillor Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not so sure whether Councillor Quigg has already received my written response or not, but however, since he's asked it, and I think it's in the public interest to respond to it as well. So let me tell Councillor Quigg, the Hive co-working place is open to any business to join as a member with access levels daily, weekly, monthly membership. So they pay a membership. I think you know that much. The Hive aims to be inclusive space for all businesses to join and collaborate, and therefore it is not the intention to exclude any businesses or individuals. There is no requirement for background checks to be carried out, as there is no reason to do so. Should concerns be raised about the conduct of any business or individual in the Hive, this would be reviewed. Furthermore, any businesses both inside and outside the borough can apply to join the co-working membership scheme. it is understood. It is not understood how there can be conflict of interest in accessing the facility open to all businesses. Any business who has a lease of permanent office in the Hive Centre from the Council is permitted to register their businesses and address at the Hive, but those who are just members of the co-working space cannot.
Thank you very much. I have Councillor Charters.
Mr Mayor, my question was asked during the public question, so I'm happy to say asked and answered.
Thank you, that's very kind of you. Got Councillor Kenyon.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Despite the 90-day pause on Trump's 10% tariffs on UK exports to the US, does the Cabinet member have any idea how many Oldham and Greater Manchester businesses and jobs are reliant on trading to the US? What is the Council and the Greater Manchester Combined Authority doing to help them? And I'm sure Donald is watching tonight, so I'm keen to hear Councillor Hussein's assessment of President Trump's plans.
Councillor Hussain.
Thank you, Councillor Kenyon, and thank you for the question. Yeah, I hope President Trump is listening, because he's about to create a global recession for everyone, not just UK, but around the globe. But currently, I don't have much figures here with me, Councillor Kenyon, but I can say that it is being reviewed, and I'll be happy to provide an answer in details.
Thank you. Councillor Sajjad Hussain.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor for that. It is great. I'm glad to see that in the report, good skilled jobs are coming to Oldham with the opening of the facility in fit and held by Signet Healthcare. Are there other opportunities that the Council is pursuing to show that more good jobs come into the borough?
Councillor Hussain.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Sajjad Hussain, for this question. Thank you for raising this important topic and the importance to Oldham people. The investment by Signet Healthcare and their collaboration with our Get Oldham working team has meant that Oldham residents are in 61% employment with Signet. So that's absolutely fantastic news, and the credit goes to our Get Oldham working team, for which I'm absolutely grateful. As a council, we are committed to creating jobs through our Creating Better Place strategy and through the development of new areas for businesses such as Atom Valley. Thank you.
Last question from Councillor Woodvine.
Going off. Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is the question I wanted to ask of the leader. We seem to be doing quite well for time, though I have shortened it slightly for you. As the 2025-2026 financial year starts, UK growth forecasts have been downgraded by the OBR by half, as a direct result of the big burdens being placed on business by the Labour government. National insurance rates will rise, 75% business rate discounts introduced by the Conservatives will be reduced, and carving to trade union demands will cost £5 billion per annum and will disproportionately impact small business. Therefore, has this Labour administration undertaken an impact assessment on how these policies will adversely affect the local economy, consulted with businesses big, medium and small across the borough of Oldham to understand how these policies will affect them and if they can account for these changes? And finally, how does the administration intend to challenge the damaging decisions being made by the government and mitigate these burdens by creating a business-friendly environment in Oldham? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know we're over the time, but if you want to give a brief answer.
Just very quickly, all I need to say is the leader's already hinted that we've got an increase in businesses in Oldham by 15%. I think that shows a lot. So the relevance and significance of the question is really, I think it requires more details, so I'm happy to provide them in writing to you.
Thank you, Councillor Hussain. We made you work really hard today. Councillor Brownrich, sorry, Adult Health and Wellbeing.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I feel a bit I'm not quite sure that I can follow all this really, but I'll do my best. So I will try. So some positive news. We've had the latest public health grant. We received just shy of £1 million extra, which I'm sort of sorry we've had to have, because it suggests we have a public health need, but as we do have a public health need, I'm really glad that we've had that money. And we will be spending that in order to support many of the schemes we already have that are delivering significant benefits to the public health of this borough. I suppose the biggest thing that's happened sort of while this report was being produced is the changes that have been announced to the National Health Service. And obviously, whatever your views of the proposals, and personally there seems to be some logic in bringing the National Health and Social Care closer together to avoid duplication, there's no doubt this has caused a huge amount of uncertainty amongst people who work in these services, and our thoughts have to go out to them. And the devil will be in the detail, but you know, there will undoubtedly be redundancies, and that's, you know, that's not something that anybody would be happy about. I think the good thing from our point of view is we are reasonably confident that despite the cuts to the cost of the ICB, we don't think that will involve mergers with other ICBs. We are one of the biggest ICBs in the country, so we think we will survive as an independent body. And again, we have very good partnership workings across all the contributors to that, so I'm confident that that will continue to deliver good outcomes. And in respect of that, you will see from the table in the report that we have just recently agreed some spending plans, and I'm particularly glad to see that we are continuing to fund the social prescribing, which is delivering good results, and will continue to evolve to get more and more people. I suppose the other thing I want to mention that isn't in here, and it sort of cuts across a question that's going to be asked about national health checks. And I just want to say we've had a very, very successful pilot with Oldham Community Leisure. We've been going out into workplaces to talk to people to try and get them to take up national health what's the word? Checks. That's the word, checks. So what we found, or what they have found by being out in workplaces, is quite a lot of people, and I have to say quite a lot of men, get letters from their doctors inviting them to a health check, and they don't go. So when you've got somebody in their workplace and they can slot in and just have an initial discussion, they can have a longer discussion, so it's not just perhaps the few minutes that a doctor could spare, and they have been encouraged. And if there are any indications as a result of that, they are then referred back to their GP for full checks. So that's been really successful. It was a slightly curtailed pilot. It should have been a year, and I think it was only 8 months. But we are very hopeful that we can get some additional funding to continue that, because what it does indicate is if we're going to deliver health improvements, not just relying on people to go to health buildings, if we can get more activities out in the community, we will get a better take-up. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brownish. I got a question from Councillor Bashford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Brownridge. I was actually going to ask what we've been doing differently to make sure that people, well, more people will get in their checks with the GP. So thank you for the information you've already given. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Brownridge, for your report. The report highlights the ongoing consultation on the NHS plan. What examples of good practice in Oldham can be included to help improve the NHS more widely? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. I'm very pleased to say that we're already well ahead of the government on this agenda. So, well done us. So our indicator care partnership is the style of model that the 10-year plan is likely to advocate. And this is enabling us to work collaboratively to shift activity out of hospitals and closer to communities. And again, I want to reiterate that our ICP is really, really working well in terms of cross-discipline. We are getting really good buy-in from all the partners that sit on that board. So one example would be the Community Diagnostic Centre. The Council working to unlock planning, the NHS committing to capital development. We have one of the most envied community diagnostic centres in the region. Now, I have friends who've been there, and I have had a tour of it, and it's absolutely fantastic. because it's not like a hospital. There's actually parking, and it's a really fantastic facility which is going to really improve our public health across the borough. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Harkness.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been contacted by a long-standing community campaigner and former parish councillor in Saddleworth around the topic of loneliness. He has produced a document with a significant amount of work in this area and has asked a number of questions to the council, such as how can lonely individuals readily gain information about organisations that help the lonely, especially with access to digital services. Are hard copies of helpful information available, or PDF versions which we could share? Through the Health and Wellbeing Board, would the Council consider conducting an assessment into existing schemes and services targeting loneliness and isolation throughout the borough, identifying any examples of good practice and establish a plan of promoting and enabling these to work? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councillor Hartness. The short answer is yes. I have also been contacted by this gentleman, and I have put him in touch with my officers and suggested we get together and have a proper discussion, because I would agree with him and with you, loneliness is a really, really significant issue that we need to sort of deal with. And one of the downsides of keeping people healthy, wealthy and home in their own homes is there is a danger that they become socially isolated. So it's a really, really important issue. We are doing a lot of things. I mean, I've touched on social prescribing as one example. Action Together do a lot of work in this field. We are taking this up through the Health and Wellbeing Board. So yes, short answer, yes.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from members? Take it as no. Thank you. The next report is from Councillor Goodwin. Don't trash Oldham. You're very popular, Councillor Goodwin, today. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report highlights the work carried out by our waste fleet management, parks and street lighting teams, so I'll take that as read. What I can share, which is not in the report, is that our in-house weed spraying team have started. So far covered Failsworth, Hollandwood and Medlock Vale. They will get around the whole of the borough twice, so please be patient. Gullies are still being inspected and cleansed as part of our borough-wide programme, which is earlier announced. And our teams in registrars are doing excellent work, outperforming all other GM boroughs. So I'll take this opportunity to thank all of our staff working in my portfolio for the excellent work they do on a day-to-day basis, and I'm happy for questions, Mr. Mayor.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. So I got a list of questions here. So first one is from Councillor Lancaster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To preempt any challenge, my question concerns signage on the highway, hence its appropriateness to be asked under item 9H. Ending a 3-year saga, it was finally confirmed in January that the Greater Manchester Clean Air Zone has been cancelled, and motorists will not be compelled to pay callous charges for important personal and professional journeys. However, many of the CAS signs, an offensive waste of taxpayers' money and inconvenient reminder of Mayor Burnham's mistake, are still littered across my Saddleworth North ward and the wider metropolitan borough. So can the Cabinet member please confirm when they will be pulled down? I and many others are looking forward to it. Thank you.
I believe this question is for Councillor Jabbar, probably more relevant, wants to answer this. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, because I sit on the GM Clean Air Committee, Administration Committee. So yes, a very good question. I've raised this on several times after the Secretary of State approved the GM Clean Air Zone plan. This was raised, this has been approved, and contractors have been instructed to take down the signs. I've raised this issue several times over, including payments for private hire, and there will be a timetable published for taking it down. The local authority has been, each local authority has been given the opportunity to use its own workforce where it's possible, but if not, then there's a contractor that's been approved to take it down. So this is in hand, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, very useful. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if perhaps you could give an update on the Council's road maintenance programme. I have noted in the press that if we don't demonstrate that we are repairing potholes, there's a possibility that the Council may lose funding. Thank you.
Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you for your question, Councillor McLaren. The approved 2024 Capital Highways programme was completed according to schedule, and we're currently putting together the overall capital infrastructure highways programme for 25-26. This will include the carriageways programme, and details will be shared and approval sought in the coming weeks. The Council has a team of specialist highway safety inspectors who constantly carry out inspections across all 800 kilometres of the highways network according to planned and risk-assessed routes based on national standards. Among other issues, potholes are identified and repaired according to timescales determined by individual risk assessments. Members and residents' queries are investigated and actioned in parallel. As to the Government's recently announced initiative, the reporting required is likely to be much more than simply pothole data. We have provided significant information to central government for many years. As a result of this reporting, Oldham Council has received its full share of capital funding. As a result, and although the reporting requirements are changing, details of which are awaited, we do not expect to lose out on additional financial support as we are meeting the criteria.
Thank you. If I got a list of people who want to ask questions, so we keep our questions brief. Hopefully we'll get through more. Councillor Marland.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's been a worrying spate of fires across our moorland in recent weeks. Please can Council be advised as to any measures that are being taken alongside GM Fire and Rescue and other partners to address the situation, reassure residents and promote fire safety and prevention. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Goodby.
Sorry about that, Mr. Mayor. So thank you for your question. The Council recognises the significant issues posed by moorland fires and works closely with partners including Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service to support them in educating and informing visitors to the moorlands regarding how to use the moors responsibly. The local authority have also sought to reduce the risk of fire-related harm on moorland through the implementation of a public spaces protection order. The order prohibits the following activities on moorland, which is the lighting of fires, the use of barbecues, the use of open flame source lanterns and the use of fireworks. Any of these activities are an offence. Furthermore, any individuals found to be involved in deliberate fire setting on the moorland with the intention to cause harm would be subject to criminal prosecution by Greater Manchester Police, and the local authority would also seek to take appropriate civil action against the individual, which may include the pursuit of an antisocial behaviour injunction or criminal behaviour order to prevent them from engaging in such behaviours in the future.
Councillor Akhtar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back in September, we had a gully cleaning briefing, and members were reassured that the ward members will be informed once the gully team are in each ward. Work has been carried out in a number of wards, and the schedule hasn't been shared, and the members have not been involved. Could you please ensure that ward members are informed and involved, and a report is shared as to how many gullies have been cleaned and how many haven't?
Councillor Goodwin.
In short, yes, I've had word with the officers involved, and they will be making sure that ward members are included in the conversation.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, following the change in October as to which items can now be placed in the brown recycling waste bin, has there been any significant increase in items sent for recycling and a reduction to that which goes to landfill? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Shuttleworth, for your question. Well, in short, there hasn't been a significant increase. However, people can recycle more pots, but they would have been thrown away in the past. So the new change means less waste is being landfilled or incinerated, and it's easier for residents to know which items go in which bins now.
Thank you, and apologies to Councillor Bishop, Councillor Aftab Hussain and Councillor Murphy not being able to ask your questions. Please do put them in writing. Councillor Dean, Thriving Communities and Culture Portfolio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like one or 2 points. I think the first one is a huge congratulations to Oldham Library that was named in the top 3 highly commended libraries at the British Book Awards in the Library of the Year category. I think this recognition celebrates the hard work, dedication, passion that our library team in making Oldham a library welcoming, engaging and inspiring a place for everyone. And not only that, the services that have been extended within the library are absolutely wonderful as well. There's been a lot of collaboration with Oldham Theatre Workshop and Oldham Coliseum in presenting a lot of cultural events, both in schools and other venues throughout Oldham, that have really enlivened the culture of the town. If I could move on to district working, Brighton Town Hall is now starting to see an increase in usage, but that hopefully will be supported now because the facilities management support that we're going to give to district hubs, which comes online this month, should really help people to be able to use the facilities both at Brighton Library and Failsworth Town Hall particularly, and hopefully we'll get residents involved and community organisations involved as well. Community safety has been a problem in Derker for some time, and we're very pleased that we've been successful in securing Operation Vulcan, which is a massive police resource that is now working in the Derker area, and obviously them lines of inquiry go beyond Derker as well, and it's going to actually reduce criminality very, very significantly in that area and hopefully the rest of the borough. The other areas that I'll just highlight, because I think it's important to a lot of people, particularly ladies, there is a new gym opening which is exclusively for women and manned exclusive, I shouldn't say man, should I? No, staffed exclusively by women, and that's opened at the Chadderton Health and Wellbeing Centre, and it's been opened about a month now to 2 months, and it's been an enormous success, and it's a venture that we really appreciate. I'm happy to take any questions, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Since the launch of Operation Vulcan in Derker, residents have seen a huge reduction in crime and antisocial behaviour. Please can you give us an update on what's been achieved so far and what is the long-term plan for Derker when GMP end their operation?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Cosgrove. I'm pleased to hear the positive resident feedback. I can report that the first month of Vulcan in Derker, there has been a stakeholder launch with over 100 delegates giving commitments to the project. A community launch was held and was very successful at Mayfield Primary School. In basic numbers, 5 warrants have been executed, 29 stop and searches have taken place, 25 arrests have actually been implemented, 2 safeguard referrals have actually happened, £11,000 of cash has been seized, over £50,000 worth of Class A and Class B drugs have been seized, 7 weapons have been seized, 21 vehicles, including e-bikes, have been seized, and Vulcan has a 3-strand approach: clear, hold and build. The project is currently in the clear stage, with planning starting the whole stage and the building stage. Neighbourhood policing teams will have a continuing presence in the area, with a proactive partnership working continuing when the Vulcan team move to another location, which is anticipated in about 3 or 4 months. Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On an optimistic note, on Sunday, Oldham Rugby League brushed aside Barrow Raiders in the quarter-final of the 1895 Cup. That leaves the club just 80 minutes away from its first ever Wembley final. Can I ask the Cabinet Member on behalf of the Council to join me in wishing the Ruffians the best of luck and acknowledging the work that Bill Quinn, Mike Ford, Sean Long and everyone else has done at the club to put Oldham on the map and produce a fantastic season so far on and off the pitch. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
I think it's absolutely great, the resurgence in rugby league in Oldham. Oldham was always a rugby league town, and it has a fantastic history of rugby league and supporting not only professional clubs but amateur clubs. So huge congratulations to Oldham. Let's hope they go on to much success and really, you know, get that eye on being a top club in future and being part of Super League.
Yeah, I think we all support that. Councillor Byrne.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Councillor Dean, I noticed that your report really reports on things that the council have done directly. There's a much greater, the thriving communities and culture widens throughout the whole of the borough. Now, I wonder if we should be sending you community events that you can also report on those, that what the wards do themselves, not necessarily through the council. Would you appreciate that or not? Thank you, Mr Mayor. Deputy Mayor. £10 in there.
I certainly would appreciate that. I think that what we try to do, certainly through the district teams and through Action Together, which we actually work with continually on a week-by-week basis, want to promote as much community activity as possible and work in partnership with all different organisations within the community, so we can really have what my portfolio said, thriving communities throughout the borough. So certainly I would support that, yes.
Any further questions? Moving on, we will now move on to item 10, notice of administration business, for which we have 30 minutes. And could I ask Councillor Gafford to leave? Thank you.
Yeah, I want to declare conflict of interest as well, yeah.
Okay, motion 1, House of Multiple Occupancy, HMOs. I call on Councillor Taylor to move and Councillor Davis to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We brought this motion forward to full council because clearly residents across the borough are worried about HMOs popping up in their neighbourhoods. We don't think the legislation in its current guise gives local councils enough control over the development of HMOs, so we'd like it updating to reflect trends we are seeing locally. We want the Council's Planning Committee to be able to manage where HMOs are located to make sure we can take into account overcrowding, quality and the pressure on local services and infrastructure. We do have some powers already in this arena, as we saw last week when we refused the application at the former Crompton Health Centre because the proposal was wholly inappropriate and didn't meet our standards. But we think it should be a level playing field for all HMOs, no matter their size, so that all of our residents can live in good quality housing. There is no doubt that the current Labour government inherited a broken housing sector, and like many things, we cannot just talk about HMOs in isolation. Since 2010, the cost of renting in the private sector has gone up on average by 44.5%, while people's pay packets have simply not kept up. Fixing the supply of genuinely affordable homes is an essential step to fixing every part of the housing sector. In 2010, the Conservative and Liberal Democrat coalition not only introduced dramatic cuts in capital funds available for affordable house building, but also introduced legislation making it easier for dwellings to be changed to HMOs. This overrode rules that were put in place by the previous Labour government. At the time, the Housing Minister, Grant Shapps, claimed that a requirement to manage these changes through the planning system was a drain on council resources and led to restricting the availability of affordable homes for rent. What this meant in practice was that people could automatically convert a small house into a HMO of 3 to 6 unrelated people without any form of planning consent. Despite this, we do have some control through the licensing of HMOs of 5 or more unrelated people and apply and enforce standards for those HMOs through the licence. But without going into tons of detail about HMO legislation, it is clear that in many cases, bad HMOs are designed to cram as many people as physically possible into the smallest space to ensure the best financial return from that property. Across England, the desperate shortage of social homes has had profoundly damaging consequences. And again, between 2010 and 2020, the UK experienced the lowest amounts of new homes built since the end of the Second World War. These supply problems are a consequence of failure of government policy. These actions have meant that the numbers of social housing has fallen so low, there are now 1.4 million fewer households living in social housing in England than there was in 1980. These cuts have led to the private rented sector more than doubling in size over that same period and overtaking social housing to become Britain's second largest form of housing tenure. Fixing the dysfunctional housing sector and its causes are a clear priority for this Labour government. The additional £2 billion announced by the Chancellor for social and affordable house building is a decisive step forward, but we also want the government to recognise the associated problem of unregulated HMOs. We will always use the limited powers that we have to make sure inappropriate developments don't go ahead, as we cannot allow run-down properties to blight our communities and detrimentally affect the lives of our residents who live nearby. But we want to see those powers extended to cover all HMOs, no matter their size. And during this debate, I think it's also important to recognise that HMOs house many of our poorest residents, and they are doing so in ever-increasing numbers. Having spoken in my cabinet role to many residents in this position, their stories offer an insight into the real choices many people face and how the failure of the wider housing sector has impacted on their lives. We know that vulnerable households who rent their accommodation privately are more likely to live in non-decent homes, but good HMOs are also essential in providing short-term housing, especially for young professionals or mobile workers.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Extension.
Okay.
I just want to finish, Mr Mayor, by saying very briefly that while we need to balance the need for well-managed HMOs, at the same time we also need to responsibly control where them HMOs are permitted. And to that end, we will be supporting the Liberal Democrat amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Davis, do you wish to speak at this point? Or do you want to reserve the right to speak?
I reserved. I'm speaking my seconding it. You're confusing me, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Mr Mayor, Deputy Mayor. I rise to second this amendment, this motion. 7 years ago, when I first became elected as a council member, I was put on the planning committee. The first planning meeting I was involved with was about a planning application, or one of the applications was for a property on Pole Lane in Failsworth to become an HMO with less than 7 bedrooms. After great discussion at the committee meeting, we rejected this. The applicant then appealed against our decision to the inspector. This was overturned and they were allowed to go ahead with the development. This led to the loss of a valuable family home which there isn't enough of in Oldham. Since then, the amount of HMOs in the local area has multiplied with the loss of good quality housing stock in Oldham. This is a problem from Failsworth to Saddleworth and from Brighton to Leeds and everywhere in between. This is part of what this motion is about. What the Oldham Labour Group want for Oldham is good quality, affordable living accommodation, the ability to decide room sizes up to a standard with each unit, having its own bathroom, kitchen, bedroom and lounge area for relaxation. What we would also like is the ability to decide on all HMO applications. Currently, HMOs up to 6 residents wouldn't need a planning application. The developer could just go ahead with this, which limits our ability to control the spread of developments and limit the requirement for this to go through planning, which was brought in by the Conservative and Liberals in 2010. This is frustrating for me as a member of the Planning Committee. For most of our members here in this chamber tonight, and for most of the general public who do not agree with the majority of these developments, it's also not good for people's health living in such properties long term, equivalent to living in chicken coops. I'm sure the members on the Planning Committee would agree when these applications come to committee that there is a lot of pressure put on the members to approve these applications because refusal could lead to the applicant appealing and the development still go ahead and the council facing costs against them. Also, non-residential properties. I can understand properties that have fell into disrepair, possibly finding a new lease of life. But also, when properties are having a change of use, all other options need to be considered before this is the way forward. The Council welcomes the recent announcement by the Labour Government to spend £2 billion to support social housing in the country. We also welcome £20 million that the Labour Government has given to Oldham, of which £5 million is for the Town Centre Housing Partnership, which will deliver up to 2,000 new homes in Oldham. So what we would like to do is request the Chief Executive rights to the borough's 3 MPs and the Secretary of State for Housing and Communities and local government, asking for their support in our endeavours. I do hope you can all get behind with us with this and support us. And like we say, we do agree with the Liberals' motion as well.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. We do have 2 amendments. Amendment 1, I call upon Councillor Sharp to move and Councillor Quigg to second the amendment.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I'll just move it in the interest of time.
Second, Mr Deputy Mayor, and request a recorded vote and move straight to the vote.
Yep. Councillor Taylor, yes.
I will also keep my right of reply very short then, Mr Mayor. So just as I explained earlier when I moved the motion, the whole reason we brought this motion is because we don't meet the threshold for a borough-wide Article 4 direction, and we want to ask the government to change the rules and effectively eliminate that threshold so that all HMOs have to come to planning, no matter the size. Thank you.
The recorded vote has been requested. Does somebody second that? Okay, thank you. Move to the vote. Okay.
Councillor Adams. Councillor Akhtar. Councillor Al-Hamdani.
For.
Councillor Ali Moan. Councillor Ali Zahir. Councillor Arnott. Councillor Aslam. Councillor Azad. Councillor Ball. Councillor Bashforth. Councillor Bishop. Councillor Brownridge. Councillor Byrne.
For.
Councillor Charters. Councillor Chauhan. Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Davis. Councillor Dean. Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Hamlet. Councillor Harkness. Councillor Harrison.
Against.
Councillor Hince. Councillor Hindle. Councillor Hoban. Councillor Hughes. Councillor Hussain Aftab. Councillor Hussain Fida. Councillor Hussain Junaid. Councillor Hussain Sajid. Councillor Ibrahim. Councillor Iqbal.
Against.
Councillor Islam. Councillor Jabbar. Councillor Kenyon. Councillor Cowser. Councillor Lancaster. Councillor Malik. Councillor Marland. Councillor McLaren. Councillor Murphy.
For.
Councillor Nasheen. Councillor Navesey. Councillor Quigg. Councillor Rustidge. Councillor Shah. Councillor Sharp. Councillor Sheldon. Councillor Shuttleworth. Councillor Sykes. Councillor Taylor. Councillor Waheed. Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Woodvine.
For.
Mr Deputy Mayor.
Excuse me, Mr Deputy Mayor, could I just, apologies, can I amend my vote to against, please?
Okay, that's okay. The right thing was done, yeah. The amendment is lost. For 17 against 35. Next time we vote, could you turn your microphones on when you cast your vote for recorded votes? Because it's not always clear to the officers. Thank you. Moving on to Amendment 2. I call upon Councillor Alamdani to move and Councillor Kenyon to second.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Thank you to the members for saying that they would support the amendment. I will still speak on it briefly. Mainly our amendments are to do with the sheer frustration that members feel around HMOs, and it's the same frustration that people across the borough feel about this. And there are good HMOs. You know, I was a student. I lived in something that classified as an HMO, and I shared a house. But when I started work, I couldn't afford to buy a house on my own. I lived in shared accommodation. They can be good, but all too often they really are not. And the system that we have got for allowing people to object, for allowing people to challenge the licensing of them, and to challenge planning, and the whole system is just broken. And when it comes to the point where, for example, plucking it out of nowhere to not be specific, an HMO in operation but not yet licensed has been reported to the police numerous times because of what's happening there and the disruption to residents nearby. And as councillors, we can't get the information on when that's coming to licensing, and we can't object to it. And we know there's a problem, and so we can tell officers there's a problem. We can't actually submit a representation to the licensing to say this is not good enough, this is just too low a standard. And that's the problem for the residents who are nearby. Never mind the people who end up living there. You know, and it's people on both sides of this, people who can't afford to live somewhere to a decent standard. And we see applications going in for these properties which are just below what any decent society should regard as a basic level for human rights. No windows, not enough space, just unacceptable standards. And it is desperate. And if you are out there objecting to HMOs, and again, not all, but far too many, we agree with you. And that's what this says, and we just need change. So support the amendment, get something done.
Thank you. Does any member wish to speak? I think Constance indicated.
Sorry, it needs seconding, I
Sorry,
believe.
apologies. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I very much appreciate the support that the members opposite have offered for this amendment. I'll speak very briefly. Too often the work of this council is a barrier to people's understanding of what we do. The issue of HMOs is a prime example. Depending on which department the good people of the borough speak to, an HMO is either more than 6 people as far as planning is concerned, more than 5 if they speak to environmental health, or more than 2 if they look on the .gov.uk website. And isn't even an HMO at all if the property is operated by a social enterprise like a housing association. It's no wonder that people don't have the kindest regard for the work that we do when we can't even agree a definition amongst ourselves. Our amendment asks the council to align their definition of an HMO with what the rest of the borough thinks of as an HMO, to at least measure the numbers of these properties in the borough, to give councillors the opportunity to represent their constituents when a new HMO is planned in their wards, and to honour the motion from November 2023 to gather evidence on numbers and impact in the borough and present that report to us all. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Constance?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. HMOs have been a hot subject within our communities for a number of years now. Indeed, it's one of the reasons we formed on the basis of people's feedback. We've got an ongoing issue with the housing crisis, but we don't believe this is the cure to that, rather a symptom. Myself and Howard Sykes submitted a motion last year on this very subject, which was unfortunately defeated then. But I am now pleased to say that because of our working relationship with the current administration, we've had numerous conversations about this subject, and we've agreed, unlike the Conservative motion, which just isn't feasible to implement as it's said, and I don't think that's possible. The Liberal Democrat motion, I pay respects to both the proposer and the seconder for putting a well-constructed amendment to an already good motion, and we will be supporting this also. Thank you.
I was just going to suggest, Mr Mayor, if we could move to the vote, given there's broad consensus on this, and it's a really good amendment.
Seconded, Mr Mayor. All those in favour of moving to vote? Okay. Any abstention? Okay. Okay. All those in favour of amendment? Okay. All those against? So amendment is carried. So we gonna vote. Does Councillor Taylor want to reply?
All I'll say, Mr Mayor, very briefly, is that, you know, in supporting this amendment, we are taking the view that the amendment is meant in a friendly spirit, and I think this is something that we can find some common ground on and work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hamdani, do you want to? You don't have to, but...
No, it's okay.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Does Councillor agree motion as amended? Thank you. All those in favour? Okay. Anyone against? Okay. Any abstentions? Okay. Motion is carried as amended.
Should we just get the members back in who declared an interest?
Right. We need to get the members who get them back in who declared the interest. I suppose we could go to the next motion and start it. Special education needs and disability. I call on Councillor Mohan Ali to move and Councillor Nashin to second the motion.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With 8,694 pupils identified with special educational needs and disabilities here in Oldham, and 3,799 of these children on educational health care plans. Through this motion, we will be supporting the government's call for examples of inclusive practice by encouraging Oldham schools to share their approaches by telling their stories of how they have made their settings inclusive for children with SEND, so that these practices can be considered as part of the government's wider reform to SEND. Also, I am asking we support the local government association's call to put spending in children with SEND on a sustainable footing. The systems of support for children and families with SEND is no denying is complex, but here in Oldham there is an absolute commitment to getting it right. We have in place the SEND Local Inclusion Partnership Executive Board, and we are driving forward improved access to health services, better quality and more timely educational healthcare plans and annual reviews. The Department of Education has confirmed Oldham has made good progress. However, we are finding the lack of access to external health services and specialist support such as speech and language therapists, mental health and educational psychologists do prevent us providing the children with the support that we want. To drive these challenges and improvements further, we welcome the government's commitment to producing a white paper to overhaul the SEND system so that the support is put in place far more quickly, much earlier identification of need and much more timely intervention and support for children who need additional support. There are significant pressures within the SEND system in Oldham, with the HCPs increasing 15% year on year. It is a welcome that the Labour government is looking to reform the system put in place in the 2014 Children and Families Act. Although the 2014 legislation clarified entitlement to SEND support, the previous government failed to anticipate, plan for or properly fund and manage the resulting explosions in need and demand. EHCP demand continues to increase rapidly, with some council reporting 15% rises in the past 12 months. In pursuing the ambitious drive for reform, the government has also launched a call for evidence to find examples of inclusive practice in schools as part of its planned reforms, People with SEND. It will aim to draw on the experience of teachers and school leaders who have proven a track record of effective inclusion in mainstream schools for pupils with SEND. Although we have done well in Oldham in setting the foundation for inclusive education, whereby we are continuing to build capacity in several of our mainstream schools whilst reducing dependence on specialist provision, I can report by end of 2026 we will create 225 places for children with SEND at our mainstream schools. I am acutely aware that simply by building more capacity in mainstream school does not necessarily mean inclusive support. National surveys and from the calls I receive, generally parents of children with additional needs feel well supported in special schools but not in mainstream schools. Thereby, there is the challenge to improve inclusivity and expertise in mainstream schools against the backdrop of many school leaders citing a lack of funding to providing the best support to children with SEND. Through this motion, we will be urging Mr. Mayor, schools and stakeholders leading the way to share their approaches by telling their stories. It will ensure every child in every school has the best opportunity to succeed. We are also asking better financial support and everyone to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very well timed. Constable Sheen, I'm mindful of running out of time.
Yeah, I would just like to move to second the motion. That's right. Formally second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just take one speaker because we are out of time and I want to make sure that opposition's time is not taken into administration motion. So, Constable Ibrahim, briefly. Sorry, you indicated no? Okay, that's fine. Councillor Hobby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to note, we will be supporting this motion, but I just wanted to note that as a member of the Children and Young People Scrutiny Board, we get these, the officers bringing reports to us, and I don't think there's a lot of criticism comes forward, and I don't think we shout loud enough when the officers are doing such a good job. So I would just like to note that in this motion and congratulate the executive and the officers that deal with SEND for the job that they do for the council.
Thank you. Councillor Hamlet.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be as brief as possible because this is something I've been campaigning long before I joined the council. So I just wanted to thank Councillor Ali for raising this, but I also wanted to thank our youth councillors earlier for raising such issues regarding mental health. I know it's something very much at the core of my party of having a national care service. However, Councillor Ali, I do think you're most remiss for not including autism into this motion, considering it is World Autism Acceptance Month, or week, or day, depending on which side of the pond you're on. And yes, autism is indeed a separate neurological diagnosis from SEND. However, not to include AS and other neurospectrum disorders leaves you wide open to challenge. So I just wanted to say that. However, it is fiscally prudent with recognition and support, and I think that we could reduce the costs associated with mental health burnout, breakdowns and crisis presentations, as well as the number of people experiencing extreme distress. So I do support that, and to prepare those for adulthood and support them into roles, whether it be job, housing and extra support and transport and other roles that it may or may not change should they leave education. And particularly I think it is important as well to highlight the fact that our transitions teams are doing well, particularly in this period, because we are piloting that, especially for those post-16 and under 18s, is still under the law of being in the children's portfolio, yet at some point adults, or at least have conversations with adults, are likely when to happen. So I think, yes, EHCPs is not necessarily the golden ticket for everything, but I do support what you're saying. I'm happy to support this, but it's not a plaster fix for everything, because sometimes some of these things later break down the line. So it's important we get the basics right, and from my perspective it's something we need to fix and fix fast. So thank you very much for this, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Sorry, we're running out of time. Councillor Ali, do you want to use your right of reply?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Yeah, and thank you to Councillor Holbin for your contribution, and I agree with you. Yeah, I think, often, we don't recognise, the work that our officers do day to day, on a day basis, and there's a lot of work that's been put in to getting sent right in Oldham. So, yeah, so I join in sort of thanking our officers. In relation to the other points, the other contributions, I mean, we have, when I'm sort of referring to, send children, I mean, I am sort of referring to children with, autism, so which sort of, which comes at, and just to sort of add that, we have actually, in terms of some of the issues raised, in terms of, speech and language services, we have put in £500,000. We've reduced the waiting list by 890 children. Certainly on the mental health, on the child and adolescent mental health, we've invested £700,000, and as a result, 98% of families now are reporting a positive experience. The community paediatric service waiting time is from 46 weeks, and we brought it down to 20 weeks. So 60% of our EHCPs are good and outstanding compared to the national benchmark. So there's a lot of good work happening, and thank you for everybody for recognising some of the good work that's going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does Council agree the motion? Those in favour? Okay. Those against? Any abstentions? Motion is carried. Notice of opposition business. The first motion, you have 10 minutes, tackling fly tipping and exploring free bulky waste collections to reduce costs. I call on Councillor Ghafoor to move and Councillor Wahid to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fly tipping has become an entrenched and growing issue across our borough. In the last year alone, Oldham Council responded to 5,672 incidents of illegally dumped waste, costing the public purse over £600,000. The majority of this waste was not found in industrial areas or hidden corners, but in our back alleyways and on our highways. These are the very places our children walk to school and our residents pass on their daily commute. A significant proportion of these items dumped are bulky household goods, sofas, white goods, mattresses, the sort of items that cannot be disposed of easily. And that currently costs residents £23 to have collected, plus further charges for any additional items. We must ask ourselves, is this charge, however nominal it may seem to some, acting as a deterrent to responsible disposal? The evidence suggests that it is. For many in this borough, especially those already struggling with the cost of living crisis, these fees are not minor inconveniences. They are real financial barriers. And when individuals feel they cannot afford to dispose of bulky items legally, the unfortunate result is all too often illegal dumping. We should not criminalise poverty. Other local authorities have already taken steps to address this challenge. In Liverpool, the introduction of a free bulky item collection service led to a noticeable decrease in fly tipping. Wolverhampton experienced similar results. These councils recognised that the cost of clearing illegally dumped waste far outweighed the revenue generated from collection charges, and they acted accordingly. This motion proposes a similar course of action. If, for example, 10,000 households were to use a free collection service annually, the revenue loss would be around £230,000. Yet with fly tipping clean-up costs exceeding £600,000 a year, even a moderate reduction in incidents would result in net savings for the council and a clearer environment for our residents. Let me be clear, this is not just a financial argument, it is a moral one. This Labour administration has long spoken of a cleaner and greener Oldham, but aspirations must be matched by action. The current policy places the burden on those least able to bear it. It is the most vulnerable in our communities, low-income families, the elderly and the disabled, who are disproportionately affected by the current charging regime. If we are serious about protecting our environment and supporting our residents, then we must remove these barriers. To maintain the status quo is to ignore the very people we are elected to serve. This motion calls for a full and urgent cost-benefit analysis of reintroducing a free bulky waste collection service. It asks for serious consideration of a policy that could reduce fly tipping, ease pressure on the council services and support those who need it the most. We owe it to the residents of Oldham to act with compassion, responsibility and foresight. I urge all members of this chamber to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wahid.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, honourable members, I'm proud to be seconding this motion moved by Councillor Ghaffar, which confronts an issue that is not just about waste, it's about pride, fairness and the kind of borough we want to be. Fly tipping is more than just unsightly. It's a stain on our streets, a danger to public health and a symbol of the disconnect between residents and this council. Last year alone, Oldham spent over £600,000 clearing up illegally dumped waste, and still thousands of incidents continue to occur. Personally, this issue goes deeper. Hollingwood is not only the ward I represent, it's been my home for the past 25 years. It's where I've raised my family. And just as I take pride in keeping my own home clean and welcoming, I've felt a deep responsibility as a councillor to ensure my ward reflects the same care and respect. That's why early in my term, I joined Councillor Ghaffar and Councillor Irfan and started knocking on doors to arrange community cleanups. We began our journey on County Street, face to face with residents. We didn't sugarcoat the issue. We apologised. We acknowledged the shameful state of our alleyways, choked with rubbish and overrun with rats. We highlighted the worst alleyways and we repeated the process many times over. Having done this, I made a personal promise. Before my time is done, I want to go on record and be able to say that Hollingwood is one of the cleanest wards in Oldham. And today I stand here proud because that transformation is visibly happening. With the support of Councillor Ghaffar and above all, with the help of our residents who rolled up their sleeves and got stuck in, Hollingwood is showing what's possible when people and councillors work side by side. This is community spirit in action. But we, as councillors, have a duty to now match that local determination with a borough-wide policy and a solution to the root cause of this issue, rather than just deal with the symptoms. Because the truth is, the current £23 charge for bulky waste collections is not just a number, it's a barrier. For households struggling to make ends meet, it becomes the tipping point, literally and figuratively. And when people are left with no viable option, we should not be surprised when that sofa ends up in the alley and the mattress ends up on the roadside. But let me be clear, it does not take a mathematician to work out the case for change. Last year alone, there were 5,672 fly tipping incidents in Oldham, with 69% of them occurring in alleyways and highways, and a vast majority of them involving bulky items. Other towns, such as Liverpool and Wolverhampton, have taken bold steps introducing free bulky waste collections. And what have they seen? Cleaner streets, less fly tipping, and lower long-term costs. This isn't guesswork. It's proven, as Wolverhampton and Liverpool have shown. This motion calls for us to review what we are currently spending cleaning up versus what we could save preventing fly tipping in the first place. A 3-item free collection could be a game changer, removing barriers, ending pressure and sending a clear message that this council is listening. We have a choice. As councillors, we should be doing all we can to be arranging community clean-ups, reporting fly tipping and educating residents to keep our streets clean. If we can do it in Hollingwood with teamwork, trust and pride, then we can do it across Oldham. Let this be the start of something better, a cleaner Oldham, a fairer Oldham, and an Oldham where every resident feels respected and supported. I urge you to support this motion, not just because it's the right policy, but because it reflects the borough we aspire to be.
Thank you. I have Councillor Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm standing to support this motion because for years myself and other members of 2 clean-up groups that I run have been fighting an uphill battle for years. We've done community clean-ups in our alleyways from 2018 onwards. I'd also like to say, as well as the free 3 items, when I was a teenager there used to be like a curbside pick-up in certain streets, and perhaps that would go somewhere to keeping it a bit cleaner as well. The other thing that I want to be noted at this meeting is that the local tip to Failsworth is closing in June for 12 months, and I just hope that the council are going to put in some sort of contingency plan, because that area very close to it is always full of fly tips. I mean, I've reported many, as have a lot of my friends. So let's hope that it doesn't make things worse. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Murphy, I can give you 20 seconds, if that helps. Otherwise, I will move to vote.
Not really, Mr. Mayor. We're happy.
Shall we just leave it then?
Wow. We're happy to support the motion. The Liberal Democrats have championed free removal of bulk waste, and it's featured many times in our budget. We really do welcome it. We do believe there's some work that could be done to see if there is a direct link to the bulky waste collection that's being proposed or the fly tip waste. So we welcome the opportunity for analysis and obviously the savings.
Thank you very much. We are running out of time, so Councillor Kapoor, do you want to use your right to reply? I think you've spoken very well. Thank you very much. So we'll, sorry Councillor Goodwin, I don't have a time to take it. Apologies. So does Councillor agree the motion? Those in favour? All those against? Huh? I did 29. Yeah, sorry, the motion is lost. Sorry. Expressing disappointment at government failure to compensate the WASPI women, I call on Councillor Marland to move and Councillor Sykes to second the motion. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion is where the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking because women born in the 1950s have been hit hard because of how Pensions Act changes were made and affected their state pension. WASPI women are dying whilst they are waiting for justice on their compensation claim following these changes. More than 300,000 women born in the 1950s have already died since this campaign begun, with another passing, on average, every 13 minutes. The solution is clear. The government must act now to compensate WASPI women fairly and swiftly. These women have served their community, family and country, and it is time that we served them. In the UK, an estimated 3.8 million women across the country have been affected. It is estimated that the compensation owed to impacted women just across the Oldham Borough would be a minimum of £11.5 million. The government's refusal to compensate WASPI women is both shocking and disheartening. The Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman found clear maladministration in the DWP's communication of state pension aid changes and recommended that each affected woman should be awarded just short of £3,000 as compensation. The facts of the matter are that despite a 15-year lead-in period, women were informed 21 years after the legislation passed, leaving many unaware of the impact on their retirement and life plans. Shockingly, some women were never even given any notification at all. WASPI campaigners are angry that they've been treated unfairly and unequally just because of the date they were born. Gillian, who's a member of my ward, had to retire to care for her elderly mum and she spent 5 years caring for her without the security of her pension, which she should have rightly received when she turned 60. But despite promising to help, the new government has turned its back on millions of pension-age women who were wronged through no fault of their own, ignoring the independent Ombudsman's recommendation, and that is frankly disgraceful. The Conservative Party left our economy in shambles, but asking wronged pensioners to pay the price of their misadministration is simply shameful. For years, Liberal Democrats have pushed the government to fairly compensate WASPI women in line with the Ombudsman's recommendations. This government's heartless decision cannot be allowed to stand, and we must keep fighting to give those affected the fair treatment they deserve. More than 11,500 WASPI women across Oldham stand to lose out on compensation after the government decided to ignore the independent assessment and go against their long-held policy to support WASPI women. So there's something very wrong with the way our country is being governed. Our governing class has lost touch with the people that they are elected to serve. It is very important that MPs think hard about why that has happened and what they can do to support it. The first step must be that councillors and politicians say what they mean and mean what they say. The WASPI organisation will simply not disappear, and the government simply cannot ignore it. 74% of the UK public support their compensation claim, so why is this government still failing them and not acting on this support? By the end of our meeting tonight, another 15 WASPI women in the UK will have sadly died without receiving the compensation they so rightly deserve. So I ask you all to please support this motion and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sykes to second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Women retire with smaller pension pots than men, and WASPI women still don't have justice. Those aren't my words, they're the words of former councillor Hannah Roberts in March 2023. The fundamental reason this motion matters is that it is about holding the Labour Party to the promises they have made to the country, which they are now breaking left, right and centre. The Labour Party promised to deliver justice for WASPI women, and they have refused to deliver it so far. Now they are in power. My colleague has spoken about how WASPI women are literally dying while they wait, and how many have died while we've debated this and other matters in this chamber. Governments can change their mind, and we should, as a council, do what we can to apply pressure to the government, this government, to make that change. Proper opposition is about telling those in power when it is right to think again. That's what this Liberal Democrat motion does, because the Liberal Democrats have not abandoned WASPI women. There are Labour councillors in this room tonight who have campaigned, and rightly so, for pensions justice. They've won votes because those campaigns and the promises your party made. As recently as the all-out elections in 2023, Oldham Labour was still supporting and campaigning for WASPI women. The question tonight is, will the Oldham Labour group stand by their promises and stand up to their government, or will they toe the National Party line, abandon WASPI women like their bosses in London have done? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. I have an amendment on this. I call upon Councillor Harrison to move. Please be mindful of the time.
Move, Mr. Mayor. The WASPI campaign is about fighting for justice for all women born in the 50s affected by the changes to the state pension age. 3.5 million women, costing 3.6 billion and, well, between 3.6 billion and 10.5 billion nationally. 11,600 women, costing over 11.6 million here in Oldham. A quarter of those affected struggle to buy food, and 1/3 fell into debt. That's how many WASPI women. That is what it is expected to cost to put right. And that is just a minute glimpse of how WASPI women were affected when the Liberal Democrat MP Stephen Webb steered through Parliament the 2011 Pensions Act while in coalition with the Conservatives. 1950s women were singled out for unfair and unequal treatment because of the way increases to state pensions were brought in. That's just horrific, and that's part of their record when they were in coalition. As previous Labour leaders of this council have noted, and as Andy Burnham has recently stated, what the coalition government consisting of the Tories and Lib Dems did to the WASPI women is an injustice. We, as a Labour administration, as we have so often done before, reassert our support for WASPI women and regret the previous Conservative government's delay in responding to the Ombudsman's report. Therefore, while on technical grounds there is no point in accepting the original motion of writing to the 3 MPs, we will of course instruct the Chief Executive to write to the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, the Right Honourable Liz Kendall MP, asking for her to look at the decision again. I may not be of pensionable age just yet, but with thanks to the Tories and the Lib Dems, I know what an avoidable scandal is and what justice looks like, and these are clearly that. Solidarity to the WASPI women.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sheen.
I formally second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Marland, you have right to reply. Sorry, I don't have a time to have further speakers on this. So,
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This Labour amendment gives me the opportunity to set the record straight and just bust some myths that they're trying to spread this evening. The line about the coalition government, we in the Liberal Democrat Party brought this motion to Council not to defend the record of past governments. If past governments of all colours had made the right choices, there would be no need for a pensions justice campaign at all. But this Labour amendment is fundamentally dishonest. Not because they've tried to make a childish swipe at our Lib Dem ministers from 15 years ago, but because they are making outrageous claims that their government have protected the triple lock pension. Have Labour councillors in this chamber already forgotten what the government have done to the winter fuel payment for pensioners? 85% of pensioners in Oldham, hundreds of pounds worse off in the really hard months because of a Labour Party choice. The meagre rise in state pension this year has been completely wiped out by the cuts to winter fuel payments and skyrocketing energy bills. The average pensioner born before 1944 is going to be £720.
We're really running out of that time, Councillor Marland.
But this amendment is fundamentally dishonest, and we won't support it and urge others not to as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harrison, do you wish to reply to anything? I know you've spoken already.
Just really quickly, like Councillor Sykes suggested that the Lib Dems don't abandon the WASPI women, well, you actually created them.
Okay. We're voting on amendment. Does Councillor agree the amendment? All those in favour? All those against? Please raise your hands because Councillor Sykes will ask me for numbers in a minute. I could say without counting is 27, but never mind.
Yeah.
So amendment is carried. 27:30. 27:30. Okay, so I'm sorry we don't have a time to, we're already 1 minute over, we don't have a time to take any speakers on motion as amended. Does Councillor Marland wish to reply again?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Angela Madden, the chair of WASPI, made the comment to say they are very pleased with the Liberal Democrats. They've been supportive all the way through, and they've always supported us in the last administration. Not that can be said for your administration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we're voting on motion as amended. Does Councillor agree the motion? Those in favour? Okay. Those against? Any abstentions? So motion is carried as amended. We have 5 minutes for the next motion. I'm afraid that I don't think you will have much of time to speak, but can I ask Councillor Lancaster to move and Councillor Woodvine to second briefly, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This Conservative motion is titled Local Government Review, and through our resolutions to replace the current Cabinet Executive with a politically balanced committee system, we intend to achieve revival and resilience of Oldham Council moving forward. Across this chamber, I count 8 political groups, including independent councillors, with at least 5 groups being outside the administration. By virtue of wearing the wrong party rosette, or in the case of Labour colleagues, not enjoying the personal favour of the leader, most of us here exercise only little influence on local decision-making. Despite the endorsement of Oldham residents, we can hardly affect change. However, the committee system which we propose would ensure that all elected members, each of whom with a democratic mandate, have a real stake in policy and performance. This will revive our local governance. With a committee system, all elected members would assume increased responsibility. Committees could be concentrated by geography to ensure appropriate provisions for Saddleworth, as for Royton, Shore and Crompton and the other proud places of our metropolitan borough. Committees by policy could be composed of councillors with relevant professional experience and expertise. For example, doctors and medical practitioners to health, small business owners and employers to enterprise, etc. As much as we argue in this chamber, we largely work well together away from public gaze. I sincerely assert that all councillors, irrespective of party affiliation, can contribute positively and productively. Let us empower all 60 elected members and revive local governance with a new committee system. Through our resolutions, we also want to strengthen the resilience of Oldham Council. It has been a turbulent few years of late, typified by regular changes in both elected and unelected executive leadership, significant electoral swings, and high turnover of elected members. Of course, last May, this council tipped into no overall control, and the administration has been defeated in several key votes since. The committee system which we propose would protect against the instability of confidence motions and coalitions made behind closed doors. Furthermore, with the likely continuation of many separate council groups, a committee system would facilitate the widest participation from across this chamber, the greatest degree of democratic input. Labour colleagues presently retain the arithmetic advantage, but need I remind them that if not for the supply of 4 others, they would be in opposition. In the long term, they too may want to consider whether the Cabinet's executive model suits their own interest, or whether power sharing.
I'm not being rude, but more you speak, less your colleagues will have a chance to speak, so just making you aware.
I will close my remarks by saying, to achieve revived, resilient local governance, please support this motion. Please support a politically balanced committee system to replace the current Cabinet executive. And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So I have 3 minutes, 20 seconds to go through amendments and everything. So do you want to formally second it?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So I have, can't take any speakers on that. So I have amendment on that. Councillor Quigg, do you want to formally move your amendment?
Please, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sharp, do you formally want to second your amendment?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so first we will take the vote on...
Mr. Mayor, can I request a recorded vote on the amendment, please?
Yeah, sure. Is there 5 people supporting you today? Yeah. I got 4. Oh, I got 5 now. Thank you.
It's only 1 minute left.
We also got the recorded vote though. Okay, what I will do, I think I'll give you 30 seconds and give you 30 seconds as well. I know you requested. Can you? I'm happy to be here all night, Councillor Sachs, no problem at all. So, okay, well, let's play this game. So I'll start with you, 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We have moved to the vote. It's right, Councillor Quigg. Sorry.
No, we didn't give us an
Thanks
opportunity at all.
Sorry? Well, let's be clear for the residents. We all come here and play the games. It's you guys who agreed 5 minutes, not me. So I'm just sticking to your time. So I suggest strongly, all of you get together, change the constitution, agree the time period, rather than actually trying to create the mockery of this meeting. And while behind the closed doors, you agree 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Then you come here and pretend to the residents you really want to speak on this. So please, whoever comes the next mayor, well, I know Councillor Moore, please make sure that you have a constitutional committee which has been set up and agree the time frame. Sorry, I'm going to move to the vote. So
that's
voting on
fine.
amendment. Voting on amendment, sorry. All those in favour of amendments, is a recorded vote, sorry.
Councillor Adams.
4.
Councillor Akhtar. Councillor Al-Hamdani.
4.
Councillor Ali Moan. Councillor Ali Zahir.
Against.
Councillor Arnott.
4.
Councillor Aslam. Councillor Azad. Councillor Ball.
4.
Councillor Bashforth. Councillor Bishop.
4.
Councillor Brownridge. Councillor Byrne. Councillor Charters. Councillor Chowan. Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Davis.
Against.
Councillor Dean. Councillor Gaffour. Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Hamlet. Councillor Harkness.
For.
Councillor Harrison.
Against.
Councillor Hince.
Against.
Councillor Hindle. Councillor Hoban. Councillor Hughes. Councillor Hussain Aftab. Councillor Hussain Feeder. Councillor Hussain Junaid. Councillor Hussain Sajid. Councillor Ibrahim. Councillor Iqbal. Councillor Islam. Councillor Jabbar. Councillor Kenyon. Councillor Cowser. Councillor Lancaster. Councillor Malik. Councillor Marland. Councillor McLaren. Councillor Moores.
Against.
Councillor Murphy.
For.
Councillor Nasheen. Councillor Navesey. Councillor Quigg. Councillor Rustich. Councillor Shah. Councillor Sharp. Councillor Sheldon. Councillor Shuttleworth. Councillor Sykes. Councillor Taylor.
Against.
Councillor Waheed. Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Woodvine.
For.
Mr Mayor.
Against. Right. You want to know the numbers, Councillor Quigg? Yeah, of course. So 35 against, 24 in favor. So amendment is lost, your own amendment. So we voting now. 24 in favor, 35 against. Sorry. 24, 35 against. I'm losing the will. 20 and 35. And yeah. Sorry. We should have a screen here on the back. Sorry? Well, no, I'm very young, Councillor Sykes, sorry. We're going to move to the motion as amended.
No, not amended.
Sorry, it's not been amended. Sorry, Councillor Quaid. You can see clearly my performance is going down. So, and so yours. So we're voting on. Okay, so voting on original motion.
Recorded vote, Mr Mayor.
Sorry?
Recorded vote on the original motion.
Anyone seconding it? We got 5? Yeah, 6. Okay. Yeah, we're doing the recorded vote, sorry. All those in favour?
Councillor Adams. For. Councillor Akhtar. Councillor Al-Hamdani.
For.
Councillor Ali Moan. Councillor Ali Zahir. Councillor Arnott.
For.
Councillor Aslam. Councillor Azad. Councillor Ball. Councillor Bashforth. Councillor Bishop. Councillor Brownridge. Councillor Byrne.
For.
Councillor Charters. Councillor Chowan. Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Davis.
Against.
Councillor Dean. Councillor Gaffour. Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Hamlet. Councillor Harkness.
For.
Councillor Harrison.
Against.
Councillor Hince.
Against.
Councillor Hindle.
Against.
Councillor Hoban.
Against.
Councillor Hussain Feeder. Councillor Hussain Junaid. Councillor Hussain Sajid. Councillor Ibrahim. Councillor Iqbal. Councillor Islam. Councillor Jabbar. Councillor Kenyon. Councillor Cowser. Councillor Lancaster. Councillor Malik. Councillor Marland. Councillor McLaren. Councillor Moores.
Against.
Councillor Murphy.
For.
Councillor Nasheen. Councillor Navesey. Councillor Quigg. Councillor Rustich. Councillor Shah. Councillor Sharp. Councillor Sheldon. Councillor Shuttleworth. Councillor Sykes. Councillor Taylor.
Against.
Councillor Waheed. Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Woodvine.
For.
Mr Mayor.
The motion is lost, 39 against, 18 for. Right. Motion 4, council tax reduction for special constables. I call on Councillor Wilkinson to move and Councillor Ball to second. I have 5 minutes for a full motion. Thank you.
Yeah, move, Mr. Mayor.
You can speak for a minute, sir, if you want.
Mr. Mayor, the police special constabulary consists of volunteer officers who give up their spare time to assist with the policing of Greater Manchester and Oldham by increasing the effectiveness of local police initiatives. Special constables are considered to be a vital part of the police service, helping to prevent crime and interacting with the diverse communities they serve. Greater Manchester Police are fully supportive of introducing this special constable's council tax discount, noting that in Rochdale a 50% discount has been given and in Trafford a full 100% discount. I'm aware that there is only 13 special constables serving in Oldham. If we took an average figure of £2,000 per household per special, then we're only talking of a figure of £26,000 if they claimed the full 100%. Of the 13, it may well be that not all of them live in Oldham. To qualify for this reduction, special constables must meet the following criteria: liable to pay council tax, live in Oldham, volunteer in Oldham, and complete a probation period of at least 1 year of service within Oldham. That's the same as in Trafford. I've received the following statistics for the last 3 years that special constables have worked. In 2026, 5,696 hours, which equates to £99,000 was worked. In 2023, 4,444 hours, equating to £77,770. And in 2024, 3,392 hours, equating to £59,360. This figure has been calculated on a 2 to 3 year pay scale of £17.50 per hour per full-time constable. My request is that the Chief Finance Officer produces a report within 28 days for approval to Cabinet to provide a 100% discount from the payment of council tax to special constables who live and serve within the Borough of Oldham. The creation of a Section 13A Local Government Finance Act of 1992 policy and procedures to include the discount above be approved. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ball, do you want to second it formally?
Yeah, I stand to second this motion. I'll keep it brief. Just to say that the specials go through the same rigorous training as a regular police officer, got the same power of arrest, and the minimum amount they have to do each month is 16 hours. Most of them exceed this expectation. If Oldham Council do offer this sort of reduction in the council tax, there's likely to be an increase in numbers taking up this voluntary role, which can only benefit GMP and in turn the whole of our borough. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. I think Councillor Jabbar, you indicated. Briefly, please. I don't have a time.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I say thank you to Councillor Wilkinson and Councillor Ball for bringing this. And can I, on behalf of Oldham Council, thank all the volunteers that work in Oldham to keep our community safe, healthy, and particularly the sports coaches to support our young people. I really appreciate that. I think on doing something like this, Mr. Mayor, it needs to be part of the budget setting process. So we can't at mid-year try to bring something like this which has an impact on the council. So really it should have been done at the budget meeting. But beyond that, there are also other people, for example, the veterans, for example, people who work for St. John Ambulances, who are first aiders. There's people who work on our food banks, who give a lot of time, more than actually some of the special constables do. And I think we can't do it in 28 days just for this particular group of volunteers. And I hope you will understand the reason why I'm saying that. So I think we need a report to look at all the other key volunteers within our borough, and that will be only fair. And we can bring back something and then look at it in the future time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Sorry, we'll have to move to vote. Councillor Wilkinson, do you want to use your right to reply?
Yes, I do, please. Yeah, with regards to what Councillor Jabbar has said, I think it's a little bit different when you're talking about the police who are on the front line and dealing with specific major incidents every day, of which the special constabulary deal with. He mentions food banks. I don't think they're going through the same rigorous amount of problems that a special constable would go through. This has been implemented in Trafford. It's also been implemented in Rochdale, and I don't see any reason why, on such a minimum amount of money, why it can't be implemented here in Oldham. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move to vote. All those in favour? All those against? So motion lost 28. Sorry, abstentions. Apologies. Two abstentions. So 28 against, 27 in favor, 2 abstentions. Thank you very much. Item 12, update on actions. Okay. Item 12, update on actions from Council. I call on Councillor Shah to move and Councillor Taylor to second the report.
Move, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Don't have a time. Does Council note the report? Okay, you need to note the report. May I again say that it's been an honor and privilege to chair these meetings for on and off 2 years. Thank you for all your support. I hope you had a bit of a fun while doing the serious business as well. And please do not take anything serious if I have said in the meeting in the last year. It has been said for the purpose of introducing a bit of a fun in the meeting rather than everyone being serious. So thank you very much. Thank you for all your support. I might stay here a bit longer, you know. Quite like this clapping. Might stay a bit longer. I don't want to use the name, but yeah. Thank you.
So that is the council meeting in Oldham as you know it. It's a mild one, if I'm honest with you. No fireworks, no police called, no protesters. Last one Dr. Chauhan chaired. 3 hours of my life, 3.5 hours of my life I won't get back. I will analyse it in detail for you and get back to you, but I think the headlines are that you can see Labour are firmly in control and have won pretty much every vote that went on there. And, yeah, the independents have betrayed us. It's as simple as that. Too many of the independents have betrayed us, and the independents that we supported there, who are still on our side, they are powerless, as Mark Wilkinson showed right at the end, and it's no fault of his. He couldn't even get a council tax reduction voted through for special constables. 6 years, and we are... I don't know what to say. 6 years. We reduced Labour from 47 to 27. Where we are is not where we should have been. Not by a long shot. Just looking at some of your questions. Yeah, the intention was to come back tonight, but it's run over, I'm afraid. This has run over to 9:15. My batteries and my equipment are going to go anyway, so I won't be able to run another 3-hour session now on the development on the cover-up of the rape gangs. I will come back fresh and do that in the morning, I think. We have been backstabbed by the independents. Maggie Hurley couldn't even be bothered to turn up to this one. Of course, Maggie Hurley is under investigation. The Pakistani sectarians announced that they're going to plan a takeover at the next council meeting. Graham Sheldon from Upper Mill is now in bed with them. Hinson Hobin are in bed with Labour. Nevesey as well. You saw the HMO vote. They left a mic on. Wahid. And also Cammy G, millionaire, multimillionaire, including through businesses from HMOs. Of course, they weren't going to vote to have an Article 4 amendment, which would have meant the entire town would have a freeze on HMOs. It's ridiculous. I think the one takeaway for me is how the council admitted that they can't force all their councillors to have DBS checks, police checks. So you can access children in Oldham if you're a sex offender, it seems. You don't need to have a DBS check if you're a councillor. And in Oldham we do have a history of Rod Blythe, a councillor that for 22 years, 23, 24 years was a councillor who was convicted for serious child sexual exploitation offences. And they kept it hidden until we released it. And the council also owned up that the Hive, which is the co-working space, multi-million-pound setup, there's no restrictions on who can set up businesses in the council office. Gives you a lanyard with access to the council offices and stuff, not set up business in the council office. There's no restrictions. I forget a convicted heroin dealer, such as Irish Himmy, who set up business there. It seems a convicted sex offender, child sex offender, can set up business there as well. So, where do we go? Where do we go? Indeed, Jenny. I mean, I'm here. I'll just go and I'll chat to you lot for a while whilst this stream is still running. So there's, I don't know how many of you there are. My laptop that was plugged here, the battery's gone, so I can't see. But if you found value in it, press like, say hello, give me a hello in the comments or something, depending on how many of you are still here. About 100 of you at a time watched it live, to my surprise, really, if I'm honest with you. Can I do it on my computer? Can I see? Yes, I can see it on my computer. How many of you here saw it? Brilliant. Oh, there's still, you know, 1,000 of you watched it. 1,000 of you came and watched it. Brilliant. I can take my headphones off, actually. I don't need them on. Tell me. Speak to me. It's rare Hi, Evan. Hi, Jackie. It's rare I get a chance to speak to people. So, by all means, what do you make of stuff? Have you, you know, this is a council. 6 years we've been fighting. And sadly, the people we elected there were either too weak or have just outright betrayed us. Wanting to get in bed with Arud Shah and the Labour Party. It's just, you know, staggering. Yeah. Oh yeah, okay, so are you ready for this? Let me get my phone. Let me just bring something up, you'll laugh your head off. No, I can talk to you about it. The council voted through to write to Angela Rayner to leave places for everyone. That's the green belt land grab, basically. Andy Burnham's got this green belt land grab where we can build on the green belt. And parts of Oldham are very green. And councillors were forced to vote through a motion saying, no, we're leaving Andy Burnham's scheme. First time they voted that through, the council found a loophole to say the vote was ambiguous. And it didn't mean what it said, even though everyone in that council chamber who was voting at the time knew exactly what was going on. So the second time they voted it through, the letter had to go to the government, to Angela Rayner. Rayner, the government, has written back to say, no, we're rejecting it. You can't leave. So that's local democracy in action for you. The reason why they've said you can't leave is that the letter that went to the government, which is written by Arud Shah and Shelley Kipling, remember these are bent individuals. Yeah, that letter failed to detail the reasons why the town wanted to leave. So even though the town voted to leave, the letter that went wasn't specific enough, which allowed the government the loophole to reject it, saying, yeah, you might have voted to leave, but you didn't explain why, so you can't leave. This is the games they play in towns and cities across the country. It's always the same. This democracy is but an illusion, and it's allowed to be because of the absence of opposition, and the media are complicit. In the old days, a newspaper would hold them to account, people would get angry, and then councillors, you know, these aren't MPs who can hide, these are councillors who live amongst us, would suffer, feel the wrath of the communities they represented. Here, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that's what took place. And I'll go through, and I analyse what happened at the Oldham Council meeting. I've got the paperwork, as I always have. I'll go through it with you. My own thoughts are, and I just use my engagement figures, my buy me a coffee figures, my like figures. There's little value in me running these Oldham specific council watch-alongs and analysis anymore, because if it's not the engagement, engagement's the support is next to non-existent. So maybe people have had enough, or maybe just people expect that they get the work no matter what. You've seen it yourself. It's a 3-hour meeting. There's hundreds of pages of reports. And ordinarily, I meticulously go through that, pull stuff out, contradictions, questions, and I'll bring it to you, and I'll bring it to the people of Oldham, and that's what we've done for 6 years. But I think we're getting to a point where it's that, isn't it? It's democracy is dead, and I'm fed up. And if there's a fight to be had, the fight's to be had on the rape gang inquiry. The next election in Oldham isn't this May, it's the following May. And you can see the battle lines. The battle lines are between Cameron Gaffer and his Pakistani sectarians and Arooj Shah and her cartel. So one's got a growing Islamist element and one's the old school Asian bloc vote, Muslim bloc vote. You white folk are increasingly irrelevant, and if you want it to be relevant, I'm afraid you've got councillors in the main who represent you who are a pile of shit. Maggie Hurley, of course, couldn't even be bothered to go to the meeting today. Yeah, you can feel it, can't you? If you found value in my interactions, in my support, in this space where you chatted amongst yourselves and watched it together, there were only 2 people in the public gallery. There was significantly more, over 1,000 of you here at some point, watching it with me. Then please consider buying me a coffee, or better still, subscribing to Red Wall and Rabble. I would very much appreciate it. Our numbers are slowly increasing. They're slowly increasing. Not at the pace I'd like, but they're slowly increasing. How you doing, Chris? I've not seen you in a while. I hope you're well. Chris lives in Royton Off. Chris, what do you make of Dave Arnott and his wife standing down from Conservatives and just deciding to be independents? Hi, Jade. I was hoping for a reply from Chris, but maybe he's gone, or is he going to reply? We're just about to wrap up, Julie. We did the council watch along. We have Lewis, that's all that matters. I spoke to Lewis recently. He's trying his best, but he's also increasingly disheartened. If you watched the beginning of the meeting, you heard how Cameron Gaffer shouted at him, "Little boy," and it was allowed. It is. I mean, it needs really, Catherine. I'm sorry. What really needs to happen is it needs another push before the next general election, and I'm afraid the Conservatives are in disarray. One of the former leaders, one of the first former leaders, gone and joined the Pakistani sectarians. From what I can tell, he's been promised a mayor, should they take control. 2 more have left because the one, with the husband and wife team, after he got caught propping up Arooj Shah and Shelley Kipling. So, there's nothing there. You're not going to get any progress there. The other independents are either turned coat, they've switched sides to Labour, or they just betrayed the rest of us and never delivered on what they promised they'd speak out against, to the point now where they're not turning up to meetings. And then the others are just, as try as they might, they're just ineffective because there's not enough of them. The Lib Dems are in bed with Labour or not, but they're playing their own game, so you can't really trust them to do what's right, to make the difficult decisions. And in a town like mine, Reform are nowhere, and the guy who runs Reform, Paul Eric, he sends out links to his private TikTok channel using the Reform web page links, trying to boost. He used to be a singer, so he's trying to boost his numbers. So what do you do? Me? If you're asking me, some of you are asking me, yeah, I understand that. I understand your viewpoint. You'll never trust an independent again, especially in Failsworth. If it was me, I'd go and join Reform. There's no other party. But then, what's coming back from those people who've joined Reform, and I spoke to two of you yesterday and today, is that the branch in Oldham is run like a dictatorship. And there's nothing but evasion in answering questions around how you get involved, how you might want to stand for office, how you might want to stand to be a councillor. If you're going to put your name forward as a candidate, it seems that Paul Eric and his mates decide if you can or can't stand privately in a secret meeting. It's a complete mess. Maybe. But they've not got a single council, have they, Sheila? And the election isn't till next year. And I've only seen the press releases, they're talking nonsense that they're going to win all 20 seats. It's the same old. It's just a rebranded Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth in Oldham. It's just complete doolaliness. Yes, I have. Yep. Agreed. Agreed, Sally. Right, it's the Easter holidays, and I am meant to be with my daughter over the next couple of days, but I think we're staying here tomorrow night. We're staying here tomorrow night. I'll come back and do a transmission in the evening once I put her to bed, so I have no problem doing that, but I am not sure. But I very much like to give you an update on what's happened, the fallout from yesterday. A lot's gone on. I've got a whole host of information, videos, sound clips to try and put together into a presentation for you. So I'd like to do that. I also put my content out on X a lot and Facebook. X, we're still getting good interactions. Facebook, well, what can I say? You get interactions every now and then, but it's difficult, I think. It's proven to be more and more difficult, just not getting the shares in the same way. We're at a place, aren't we? Well, you've got to decide what you want from me, rather than me deciding what I'm going to do. So that's a decision for you. I put out a call this morning on X to say and it's what I've said all along, which is I will travel the country, go and speak to people, speak to groups. And I open my direct mails on X. I don't open my direct mails on X. I think it's only people who I follow and who follow me that can message me. Historically, how my direct mails and X have been. Thank you, Gary. And I got 4 messages. One from a Pakistani calling me a fucking dickhead. Nice. All of you went to that trouble. Another one from a survivor being cagey about wanting to send me something or wanting me involved in something. I get it all the time. Essentially what happens with a lot of the survivors who contact me is they want me to take on casework. I don't take on casework. I haven't got the time, the skill set, and I don't believe I'm the best person to take on casework. It'll bog me down and it stops me from campaigning. I'm a campaigner. When survivors get in touch with me, that's of value to me, is to say, this is my story, how can you use my story to push for a campaign? But, you know, I don't blame them. That's just what they did. Another one got in touch wanting to get me to do some work for them. And someone else got in touch with a long letter they'd written from in Bolton and wanted me to review it. It's disappointing. It really is disappointing. Because I know what we need to do next. We need to mobilise, we need to gather. Others need to speak at events. And we need our numbers to grow. And this movement to grow. Because this government isn't going to give us a public inquiry. I don't mind Charlie Peters stealing anything. I'm fine. Evan, it's not my interest at all. What I do know is Charlie Peters is not going to successfully campaign for an inquiry or mobilise people to vote or any of those things. He's a journalist. I'm a campaigner. I understand the difference. I send him stuff. He sends me stuff. I spoke to him today. He's a great lad. So I don't mind him doing that. But if we don't get out in front of more people and share the truth of what's going on and get more people angry to be care enough to vote and work more strategically, we're just going to lose. There's nothing I can do about that, is there? He knows what's going on, you know what's going on, there's nothing I can do. And it's a waste of energy. Going saying he's shit or he's shitter or he's doing it for the wrong reasons. It's a waste of energy. All I can and all I have to do is focus on the issue and focus campaigning on the issue. And not get distracted by pettiness. Okay, I'm done. Very little in the way of subscriptions and coffees or anything today. I think it's a reflection of maybe I shouldn't have done that watch along, if I'm honest with you. Maybe I shouldn't have done the watch along, and what I should have done is done the transmission on the grooming gangs. I'll see you all soon. Bye.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.